This is ESPN 1025 The Game. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
1025 and 1063.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Informative conversation while you work. This is the DDC. Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
And good Wednesday morning, everyone, and welcome into the DDC here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Derek Mason, Willie Daunic, Elijah Campbell along for the ride here with you. Hope you're having a great start to your day so far. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Good talk.
No, I'm trying to turn on the mic. I was talking to Elijah right quick. But no, I'm doing well. Was listening to Rex Road and Robbie this morning about the whole Philip Forsberg and everything else they were talking about.
I'm ready to get your thoughts.
I see you jump. You are chomping the bit right now. You're ready to get into it, and I'm with you. You know, I heard you're just angry for greatness right now.
I'm like your former teammate.
Yeah,
I'll say the exact same thing on the air that I said to you off the air. I woke up this morning. I'm like your former teammate, Ray Lewis. I'm pissed off for greatness.
That's a good way to be.
It is. You got to have a little chip on your shoulder sometimes. But and I can tell that some other people are too. But I am curious of your thoughts, and I think we have Willie. Willie, are you with us via the
hello, gentlemen.
the interwebs?
Hello, Willie.
You guys got me?
I got you.
We got
you. We're glad you're here.
We're holding your hand.
But I'm not doing that.
Go ahead.
I hold enough hands as the suit. Like I'm not going to do that anymore.
You guys have long arms because I'm down in Birmingham.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. Mahoney has a tournament, so good luck with that. But I'm curious from your point of view because this report comes out that Forsberg's camp is wanting something in the the low eights, which I'm like, if you're a player and your representation. Why would you come out and say that? Like, that makes absolutely no sense to me because you're going to try and get the most that you possibly can. And I still and Willie, I think you disagree with me on this. I think if he goes to market, he could get 9. I think there is a team that would overpay for sure. But I've always kind of been in the 8.5 camp, somewhere in there that I think is fair, but it might take more because you know how these things go. But you've lived this life. You have gone through negotiations, and I think the biggest one for you probably was when you were released from the Titans, and you had the world is your oyster at that point. You have 31 other teams that are interested in your services at that point in your career. You ultimately end up signing with Baltimore, but Freddie Freeman goes through this process, completely botches it. Now he's trying to walk it back, and you can tell that he's not happy, and he goes back to Atlanta, and that stuff happens because he trusted the agent. Okay, and he let the agent handle it, and he listened to the agent. You worked very closely with your agent when you went through your negotiations. So what was that process like for you, and how do you relate it to what's happening right now with Philip Forsberg?
It was a transparent, relationship with Lamont Smith or Peter Schaefer. It was transparent. It was, okay, this is what they're offering, or these are the teams that are looking to, that want your services. And we will base, where you go and whatnot on how the contract looks. So I trusted Peter. I trusted Lamont with their guidance on me trying to navigate and trying to figure it out. Because that was my first time being a true free agent like other teams. Because when I signed back with the Titans after my rookie deal, I knew I wanted to be here. and everything just sort of aligned perfectly where we didn't have to go into this negotiation where it wasn't dragged out. So that caused me to have even more trust in my agent. And then subsequently, when I had to do it again, I knew they were in it for me. They wanted to do what was best for me as a client.
And that's the key thing.
Exactly, because they knew they were going to get they were going to get the money. The money's there. Now, how is it paid out? How is it structured? How is the contract structured? How much of it is guaranteed? That's what you truly try to trust your agent when it comes to that. But hockey doesn't have to worry about that because everything is guaranteed. So I think Philip Forsberg is in this situation where, and I. Every time I hear people say Philip Forsberg wants to be here, it irks me. Y'all don't know if he wants to be here. He's saying what he needs to say. Listen, this is what players do, whether they want to be somewhere or not. We saw with A.J. Brown. He said the same thing. He tried to shift it over to the team once he had signed his deal in Philadelphia. He wanted to make it seem like, hey, I tried to do everything possibly to stay here in Nashville, but they didn't want to keep me at the price that I wanted. I understand that. Every player, unless he's disgruntled, unless he just doesn't like the organization,
right,
they don't want to burn bridges. They're going to say everything that they need to say to not burn a bridge. They're going to continue with their everyday life as if they're going to be here. But to me, I believe Philip Forsberg wants to test free agency. He's never been in this situation before.
Okay. I'm going to agree and disagree with you all at the same time. And Willie, I think you and I are going to be on the same page on this. So I look at it like this. I think that from just what, Willie especially being the play-by-play of the team, I've covered the team for a long time, been in and out of that locker room. We know Philip on a maybe a different level than you do, okay? And I believe that when he says he wants to be here, he really does. Like I think his fiance is from just down the road in Georgia. They've established roots here. I mean, yes, he goes home to Sweden and everything, but this is home. I mean, this is pretty much where he's put down roots. So
he can always move back here after.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying, that players will say that they will say the right thing. But if he didn't truly believe it, why is he showing up and letting himself be visible at CMA Fest? Why is he showing up and letting himself be visible at Nashville SC?
Listen,
I know, but
the guy, what I want y'all to understand is this. Guys are not going to get outside of their routine because of contract negotiations.
If they don't want to be here, they will.
No. What you don't understand is this. These guys care about the social media aspect. These guys care about how people feel about them. So if indeed he does stay here or he leaves, he wants to show everyone, hey, listen, I just continue to do everything that I normally did, and they didn't want to bring me back. Again, we haven't learned the lesson with A.J. Brown. He did the same thing. And then when he went to Philadelphia, it was like, see, I tried to sign,
but and
they didn't want to sign me back.
It was a different thing.
I understand that, but a smart player is going to do, if he's not disgruntled with the organization, he's going to do everything as if he's going to be here. But his thing is, if y'all are not going to pay me as much as I want to be here, I'm not going to be no damn fool. I'm going to go somewhere where somebody respects me and will pay me. They will show me how much they want me and respect me by the zeros on that contract.
Show me the money.
Show me. People get so lost in all this. He's saying, like Jerry Maguire, show me the money. If you show me the money, I will show you my loyalty. Okay? The loyalty is as far as the money is. If there's 6 zeros and then another number, my loyalty is high, very high. If it's not that way, then my loyalty is very low. And my loyalty is someone is with another team that is willing to give me the money that I believe I'm deserved. I've always said, you're only worth what they will pay you. Philip Forsberg has never been in a situation where he gets to test the market. And I believe that he wants to see, hey, what's out there. That contract, the situation here ain't going nowhere. That's what y'all don't realize. It ain't going nowhere.
Well, he'll lose if he goes to market, he loses the 8th year.
But he will still get the guarantee money.
Sure.
It's not football. It's not, some other sport. He knows that the guaranteed money would be there, whether it's 8, and that was a true, he wanted a low 8, but that was a true, if that was true of what the reporter wrote, then that tells me that if he's asking for low 8s, what are they willing to pay him? What are they telling him they're gonna? If he's asking for low 8, they must not want to pay him nowhere near the 8.
I don't think Willie, you've said this. I don't think they've made their big offer yet because they know they still have time.
But look, Derek is right on the money on everything he's saying that you should be doing as a player. I think he's dead on. You want to this is your chance to get the best contract you're going to get for the majority of the rest of your career. And I think we've tried to say that. I think if you're saying, look, you're counting on him wanting to be here at the end of the day, you're trying to read his mind. You can't know that. Derek's making a good point. The only thing that I keep saying over and over, and I'll continue to do it, the Predators can offer him the best deal. Why they haven't to this point, I've tried to speculate every which way. I've tried to present all of the reasons why maybe they have lowballed him, but it looks pretty clear at this point. He's not going to sign for the hometown discount, even if the Predators can prove with real money. We had yesterday, Elijah pulled up, or we had actually a listener brought to our attention a website that sort of translate what $5 million means in Nashville as opposed to $5 million in a place like California or another state. That's a real thing. But at the same time, Philip Forsberg is the guy that's going to hit free agency on July 13th. He has leverage. But the Predators can offer him the best deal. And so I will keep saying this. I do think the Predators' best offer hasn't been offered yet. They're going to have to go higher if they want to keep him. And I don't see a better plan B.
No, isn't.
They've got to keep him. I don't see a scenario where they're a better team by letting him walk.
They need to keep him.
They may have to pay a little bit extra.
They need to keep him and then add a piece. But
I'll tell a couple pieces.
I will tell you why I don't think they've given the best offer yet. And it's why David Poyle's been doing this as long as he has. We'll do that coming up next, but if you want to weigh in, 615-737-1025, you can call or text our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We're talking Philip Forsberg. We're up and running on a Wednesday. It's the DDC on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
They're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
there's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams.
This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have two choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
At Kubota, we want to help you deliver a job done right. That's why we want you to know that the new Kubota inventory is arriving daily. You have work to do. We have the reliable, durable, and versatile lineup to help you do it. Visit Krebs Kubota today for all your equipment needs. Krebs Kubota. Stop in, click, or call. Visit us online at KrebsKubota.com.
Curation CBD is a local family-owned business started and grown right here in Middle Tennessee. Curation's mission is to provide the community with locally and organically sourced CBD products for everyday use. Curation means healing, and their CBD products will do just that. Curation CBD is a certified Tennessee product and is available at the Painted Tree in Franklin. Or visit them online and order now on their website at CurationCompany.com. Use promo code DDC25 at checkout for 25% off Curation CBD. Curation, CBD products curated for life.
1025 The Game is teaming up with Newton Motor Group and Souls for Souls to provide shoes for children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area. With school coming back, our goal is to raise $20,000, which will provide 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids. Please help however you can by going to thegamenashville.com/shoes. All donations go directly to Souls for Souls to give shoes to children in Middle Tennessee. thegamenashville.com/shoes.
This is Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers. We understand that no one likes to deal with auto body repair and the inconvenience it becomes in your day-to-day life. I want to personally invite you to stop by and let our experienced staff see how we can help you make your vehicle look good as new. Apple Collision Center has 3 convenient locations, Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, ready to serve you. Come by and see us or visit us online at applecollisioncenters.com.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to the DDC.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
The DDC is presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, a York-certified comfort expert company. Schedule now at springhillac.com. Welcome back in. 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can listen on the Game Nashville app as well. Chase McCabe, Derek Mason, Willie Daunic here with you on a Wednesday discussing Philip Forsberg and his contract situation with the Nashville Predators. Here's why I don't think that they have given him the offer yet. And I said it's because, David Poile has been doing this a long time. There is a playbook that you run in situations like this. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't always agree with the playbook. Derek is a player. I know you don't always agree with the playbook because it's very simple to say if the player wants to be here and if you want the player here, then get the deal done. Just figure it out.
Absolutely.
And they haven't figured it out to this point. I think that David is playing the he gets hurt card. Mm-hmm. He just hit 40 goals for the first time in his career card. He knows that he's a good player, but he's trying to basically lowball as best he can, even though in the back of his mind he knows he's not going to be able to get away with that. Mm-hmm. But all general managers do it. They all play that game because he also knows that he's in control for 2 more weeks until July 13th or July 12th at a certain time, and then he's not in control anymore. Then he can't do it. So there is a deadline looming, and I even heard David Poile say it with Robbie last week that deadlines tend to speed things along, and we have a deadline that we're approaching. But I don't necessarily agree with it because I believe that you go ahead and you get it done, and then you have time to formalize your plan for the draft because a lot of stuff gets done at the draft. I heard you guys, Willie, talking about it yesterday of how much gets done at the draft and not necessarily like it gets finished at the draft. Prime example, where did PK Subban and Shea Weber start? The draft. And then it happened a few days later. So
I'll give you another one. That happened at the draft. James Neal for Patrick Hornquist.
Yep.
At the draft.
Yep.
So it's definitely ripe ground for trade talks. And, I'm sure there's a lot of lead-ins right now. There's people on the phone talking to other people. I would, if you thought it was, and I don't think this will happen. I think it's a 0% chance, but I wouldn't be surprised if a team that wants to make a play for Philip Forsberg calls David Poile and says, I'll give you a 4th-round pick for the rights to him between now and July 13th.
Wasn't the last time
because you could get an exclusive window to negotiate with him if you thought you could make a deal.
Now, they did that with
David Poile want to do that.
Even with that, when you say, okay, let's make a deal and I get the rights to Philip Forsberg, do they also get the rights to that 8th year?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes,
I think
do.
you would.
Yeah, no, you do. They basically become yours, and you get everything that comes with
contract for 7 days or however many days.
So the Predator, you probably remember this, Willie. The Predators did that with Dan Hamhuis. They had gotten to the point where they knew they weren't going to be able to sign him, and so they traded his rights to, I want to say, Philadelphia, and Philadelphia didn't end up signing him, but they still got something for him. I can't remember what it was exactly, but
it was a third or fourth or fifth, something like that. They got a pick.
Yeah, which I mean, that's not.
If you're getting something for him, then. But, and I understand what you're saying, Chase. Poyle feels that, hey, listen, this is the first time he scored 40 goals. He's been hurt. Yes, he's a good player, but I don't know if we can count on him to score 40 goals again for the next 2 or 3 seasons. So with that being said, yeah, you want what has been speculated, 8, let's just say 8.5. But we're not going to pay you that because we've watched you grow up as a player. We know you. So we know, what you're good at and what you're not. So they're going to try to use that in negotiations. Every GM and every agent do it on their players' part. Hey, listen, this is what the guy does for your team, and he's pulling out all the good stuff. The GM he's pulling out the good stuff, but he also is showing, highlighting, hey, this is why we're a little bit apprehensive. But I basically equate it into, a relationship. Listen, man or woman, if you've been together long enough, what tends to happen, Willie and Chase, when you've been together 3 or 4 years, what does that woman or that man eventually says? We need to get married.
Yeah.
So you got
4 years.
You got
about
I'm saying I'm good. Yeah, and less than that. Let's just say less than that.
See,
yeah.
now you're in now you're in territory I know nothing
exactly.
about. Exactly.
Chase knows nothing about that. But let's just say you've been together 2 years, and the man or the woman is like, listen, we've been together 2 years. You know me, I know you. We live together. We share everything. We need to be married by what is it? June. We need to be married by December.
We all know people that we've watched it play out. Right?
Exactly, and then you sit back.
Whether it's happened to you or a close friend or a family member, we've seen relationships where it gets to that point. It's time to decide.
Absolutely, and then you're sort of like, okay, I got until December to decide. I really want to marry this person, but I'm not going to tell them until December. You know what that person in their mind is thinking? This may not be the person for me. The other person,
they want to do something else.
Yeah,
and then they'll sign the contract.
Exactly. I wanted to. No. If you know you want to marry me, just marry me now. Let's do it now. Don't wait until December. Don't wait until that cutoff line. Because if you try to wait until that cutoff line, I might be gone.
Right. Yeah. Well.
And that might be the same situation here. You want to sign the guy.
See, that's why I haven't been in that situation, because I'm not waiting around.
But you know what? When you say that, Derek, I try to put myself in Philip Forsberg's shoes. He probably has been very frustrated about this whole thing, and I give him a lot of credit because he has not flinched. He has not shown any frustration publicly at all, and it would be very easy to. I'll give you an example. Last year, Gabe Landeskog, he got frustrated. This same exact thing happened to him. And he was ticked. And there were reports that, talks had broken off completely. Talks were dead, and he might hit the free agent market. And they made up just in time, and they got married right before free agent started. And
I thought it was after.
He probably signed for less. I don't think he hit the market because he signed the 8-year deal. But
he got the 7-year.
He got 7 years?
I thought he did.
But Willie,
take a look at that. But either way, he stayed, and he probably took less by and Joe Sakic sold him.
Got it. You're right.
On we've got the 8th year, and this is what we have, and we've got a great team. We want you to be a part of it. That was a very tricky negotiation. But here is what I'm thinking: if Frank Saravelli is correct, and I think he's a good reporter. For not on the forecheck. I'm putting him with a different company now. Daily Faceoff is where he's working now. If he says Phillips asking for the low 8s, to me and everybody else that follows this, that's exactly where every expert who follows this thinks Philip Forsberg should hit, just above Matt Duchene, Ryan Johansson. So that if that's accurate, I really am not sure why it hasn't been done yet. And it's got to be frustrating to Philip Forsberg.
Well, it's playing games.
You're being very, very calm about this whole thing.
You're playing. If indeed that is the truth,
it really is like a relationship.
Yeah, if those reports are true that he wants in a low 8, then you're playing games as the other party. You know, because to me, if you know that's what he wants, and everybody out there is saying, you know, if you look at what he's done, you look at how it is, that's probably right around how much he should get. He shouldn't get any more. He shouldn't get any less. It should be around that 8 million, 8.5, somewhere around there. A little bit less than the two top guys.
I'd even give him 8.25.
Yeah. So if that is indeed the case, why play games? That only frustrates and angers the player and the agent. That's all that does. And Phillip is not – he doesn't come across as the guy that's going to say anything in the media. He's going to go about his business, continue to do everything in Nashville that he's been doing. He's not going to cause a fuss, because it doesn't seem like that's his demeanor. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure he's a little bit irritated. Like, listen, if the reports are true and that's what you want, then why? I'm not asking to be paid more than Yossi or who else is a little higher paid than him?
Yossi
Duchesne.
The one
I'm not asking to be Duchesne or Yossi.
He's gonna make more than Johansson and Duchesne.
Okay, well, I'm not asking more than Yossi.
Yeah.
So just give me,
which for a while exactly. I thought he was.
Which is, this is what I'm asking for. Why play games?
Right.
Let's get it done so you can then concentrate on other needs.
Mike in Last Cast, that's on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says this. Ask 85 this question. Would you have taken a bit less money for a better chance to win the Super Bowl? Forsberg has made $36 million already. He's about to get at least another 65. He also adds, I also believe he wants to test the market.
Had my contract been up the year prior and I knew the team that we had, yes, I would have.
With the Titans?
With the Titans, yes, I would have, because I knew the team that we had. Say the year prior, not the last year, but the year prior, because we're coming off a really good season. And if my contract was up then, I would have been like, okay, I'll take a little bit less.
So that was, 03?
Yeah, I'll take a little bit less to stay here because I know what we got. How close are the Predators to winning the Stanley Cup? That's the question. So if they're not close, you can't ask me to take a pay cut. You can't ask me to take a little bit less. If you are, a step away from the Avalanche, or a step away from Edmonton, or a step away from whoever the top teams, Calgary, if you're a step or a half a step away from them, and you ask me to take a little bit less, okay, I do it. Because I know me stand here and you bringing in other guys, we may supersede those teams.
Sure.
But if we're not even in the ballpark of those teams, why am I taking a little bit less?
Okay, well, that's a good question. So how close can they get to that with the moves that need to happen this summer? Let's talk about that. Coming up next, here as you listen to the DDC, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook live every day on our video streaming. It's brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. It's the DDC, 102.5, 106.3 The Game Nashville app.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
The first 1,000 fans to the Nashville Sounds game tonight get a Hit City clear backpack. You can snag a $10 general admission ticket right now. Plus, it's a winning Wednesday. So if the Sounds win, all fans get to run the bases after the game. Grab your tickets today at NashvilleSounds.com.
Hey, Willie Daunic here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home's value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it, and you can access it with Loan Pronto. They specialize in zero-cost cash-out home refis. Get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. And yes, VA loans are eligible. With a VA loan, you can access up to 100% of your home's value. So pay off high-rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut about $800 or more from their monthly budget. So if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
7.5 million children in Ukraine need to find water and shelter. They need a place to sleep and comfort in the dark. Show them the world cares. Support UNICEF, unicefusa.org/action.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series at First Horizon Park against the Indianapolis Indians. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Coverage begins at 6:50.
On your home for Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Thank you, Coach. Good to see you the other day at the Ally 400. Back here on the DDC, Chase McCabe, Derek Mason, Willie Daunic, Elijah Campbell. Behind the glass is we're discussing Philip Forsberg. And Derek asked the question before the break, how close are the Predators to competing for a Stanley Cup? And this is one that we have definitely brought up before. And I believe that David Poile and his staff, they are looking at this every day of seeing what moves need to be made when it comes to signing Forsberg and then adding to it as well. I mean, I think it's very clear that they're not near the Colorado Avalanche right now. He said as much. David Poile said as much in his postseason press conference. But, Willie, I'll ask you. I mean, let's just play the game for a second. Forsberg resigns. They get it done. He's here for another 8 years, whatever the money turns out to be. What needs to happen for them to be in that conversation, not just a playoff team, they've been a playoff team, but an actual contender? Okay, good answer.
Thank you, Willie.
Thank you for your contribution.
Okay, if you look
we've been hashing this out since the – I'm sorry, I had my mute button on, guys.
Okay.
My apology. We've been hashing this out since the end of the season. Mm-hmm. Different people will have different opinions. They're clearly a notch below one of the best teams of the era. The Colorado Avalanche play in the Predators division. They're not going anywhere for the next few years. Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, that nucleus, Gabe Landeskog, they're going to be there for a while. Now they may have a new goalie, but they just won the Stanley Cup with good, not great goaltending. That's how good they're going to be. They have young players coming up. They have a chance to be a dynasty, kind of like the Blackhawks did in the Predators division from 2010 to 2017. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't surprise me at all. It took about 5 years for Colorado to build to this point. They probably could have started deep playoff runs earlier than this year. They probably underachieved a couple of times during that span. So catching the Avalanche is catching the top team in the league.
They got to re-sign some guys, though.
And okay, they're going to lose a couple guys, but
are.
they're still going to be. It's like Tampa. Tampa loses guys every year, but the nucleus is in place. Chicago lost guys every year. They won the first Stanley Cup with Antti Niemi as their goalie. They retool, but if you got the core, you're going to be there. You're going to be in the mix. So the Predators are a couple pieces with Forsberg away, 2 to 3 in my mind.
So Colorado, let's just put them. They are the gold standard. Let's remove them because we know they're nowhere near Colorado.
Now let's be realistic about this. I think the Predators can be better next year than they were this past year if they make the right moves. Are they going to, on paper, in this offseason, match what Colorado's got? No, it's not going to happen. You've got, in my mind, a franchise goaltender in UC Saros in the prime of his career. That's a huge piece that a lot of teams don't have, and that elevates immediately the rest of your team. You've got your Roman Josi, who is in the prime of his career and one of the premier players at his position. You've got a solid nucleus of young players that are solid role players and hopefully collectively will get a little bit better. But they're obviously missing a couple of weapons, and that's what they have to try to find. Maybe somebody emerges over the next few years. It's very difficult to look at right now. I don't think you can sit there and say, if you're Philip Forsberg, hey, I know it's going to be a great team here in the next few years, like maybe Gabe Landeskog could have last summer. But at the same time, I think you're rolling the dice if you're going anywhere else. And who knows what you're going to get there. I don't know if the grass is necessarily greener on the other side. We saw what happened with Ryan Suter when he left. He thought the grass was greener in Minnesota, and as it turned out, Minnesota never won anything while he was there. And the Predators won a lot more and went way deeper in the playoffs than Minnesota did during that same time. Minnesota won a lot of games. They weren't a bad team, but they never contended. It's a hard question to answer.
Well, it might not necessarily mean the grass is greener. It might just be a different brand of grass or a different grade of grass.
Yeah.
And, it grows, different, and it's not as green as, say the grass that you have put on your lawn. Lawn grass and golf grass are two different grasses, okay? but if you take care of both of them, they're both green, So Colorado is the gold standard. And I'm just going to throw some teams out, and you just tell me yes or no. Minnesota.
Minnesota doesn't have the cap space to go after Philip Forsberg.
No, I'm not saying going after him, but I'm saying
are they above the Predators?
Are they above are the Predators above these teams? Minnesota.
At the moment, no, but Minnesota has got the Ryan Suter tab and Zach Parise tab coming due. So they're you take $13 million off of their cap to start this coming year. So they've got issues.
Okay.
I would
Blues,
say
they are catchable.
Okay.
Catchable.
The Blues and the Flame.
I think the Blues are an excellent team. They got some key questions, but I would say they're going to be the team that's predicted second behind Colorado next year would be my guess.
Yeah, and I would say the Flames, if they can keep Gaudreau, are above the Predators.
That's a big if.
Edmonton.
That's a big if.
Yes. Right now,
Edmonton has major questions. Who's Edmonton's goalie?
Yeah,
next
that is their biggest question is goaltending. But if they can get goaltending figured out, I would say yes.
But they have no money. They have no cap space. We know what Edmonton's going to be. To me, they overachieved to get to where they were, and I don't know how they're going to get better.
Okay, so
to be honest with you, I think they're going to be they'll be a very good team next year. But I don't know if they're a great team.
Here are the swing teams right here. Dallas, the Jets, the Kings, and the Knights.
I would,
because that can kind of. It's like a pendulum. It can kind of go either way with all of these teams, including the Predators.
Vegas to me has they're going to have some cap issues too, so they have some stuff they have to figure out. Because Vegas had this plan that they were going to go for it in the first 5 years, and then figure it out after that, and that's where they're at. And they went for it, and they went to a final, and we're in the playoffs every year except this year, and now they have to figure it all out. So
what we're saying, I'm going to go back to a quote from David Poyle. every team is constantly building and rebuilding when you have a hard salary cap. I think we know Colorado is elite. I would say in the West, I don't know that you can say there's another team that will be right there with Colorado next year. There's going to be a lot of good teams. Colorado will be the clear favorite. Vegas is an interesting one with who's their goalie. They have a new coach. Robin Leonard, I guess, because there's a new coach, maybe he'll be there. Is he healthy? I don't know. They're over the salary cap right now. Can they address any needs? You could say if they have everybody back next year healthy, they're going to be really good. But my point is, can you close the gap on everybody else? Somebody's going to have to beat Colorado no matter who we're talking about there. I don't think Nashville can realistically get to Colorado, but can they be in the running with everybody else in the West? I think that's the goal.
Okay,
when
so
you have Staros, and if you had Philip Forsberg and you have the cap space to address some other needs, I think that's a realistic goal.
Okay, I look at you two guys as very knowledgeable hockey guys.
Thank you.
I truly do. So if you guys are thinking that way, I'm not leaving you out, Elijah. I'm just talking about Willie and Chase. But if you guys are saying this, that it's sort of like this swing and this pendulum, what makes you think Philip Forsberg isn't thinking this? And he isn't thinking like, man, maybe I should wait until free agency start so then I get a clearer picture of what's going on. Because right now, it seems like there are 3 or 4 teams along with the Predators that are on this pendulum. And if they make the right moves, then it can be they can be closer to Colorado than further away. Yeah. So maybe Philip is looking at it like, I'm waiting to free agency to see what these other teams are going to do. Then I will make my decision, because if the Predators don't make the right moves, and even if I sign with them, it still puts me behind all these other teams.
But okay, if you're a player though, and I'm curious of if you thought this way, because I think you would have. I mean, knowing you like I know you. But if I'm Philip Forsberg, I have to think a few steps ahead. I also have to think in different scenarios that could play out. So if I'm thinking I want to stay with the Predators, even though I know we're probably not going to win the Stanley Cup next year. We're probably not going to win it the year after. But the hope is that we start building and we get back to the point where, like 2017, 2018, 2019 in there, that we're back in that mix because of how things cycle through. So if I'm him, I'm thinking I see the trend of what David or Brian or whoever has done or will do moving forward, and I like that enough and trust that enough that I'm willing to sign for 8 years, knowing that we've been a playoff team, we're going to continue to be a playoff team, and we're just going to inch our way up and get better and better, and then we're going to be back competing for the Stanley Cup. You have to look ahead and know the moves that David's made in the past, that he's gone for it. Like, he has been willing to go for it. And so I think he's got to be doing that.
If I'm a player in that situation, my thing is, in the next 2 or 3 years, how do we look?
Yeah, and that's what he's – I think that's what I'm saying.
If we are not in a place, or I feel we're in a place, regardless of what David is doing, if I don't feel we're in a place to win a championship, I'm gone. Because you know what's going to happen without a no-trade clause? 2 or 3 years after – maybe 4. If they're not in contention, you know who's gone? Forsberg. Yeah. Exactly. So he has to think about this. Even though the contract is 8, it's really 4, because after the 4th, he gets older, and they're looking to shift, unless he's playing great. But if he isn't, if he's playing okay, they probably are looking to shift him, move him to a different line, or they're looking to move him to another team.
Sure.
And then he's going to look back as a player and think, man, I should have went somewhere where they had a really good shot within the next 2 or 3 years to win a championship. That was my main goal, was when they cut me here, where can I go? First thing I looked at was, do they have a good defense? You know why I looked at that? I'm used to a good defense. You know what a good defense gives you an opportunity to do? To be in a championship game.
Yeah. And that's why you chose
That's
Baltimore.
why I chose Baltimore, because they had a good defense. They were
historically. I know the other teams you were thinking about, and I would have advised you to go with that one.
And I kind of look at it sometimes. I was like, man, should I have? But it is what it is. But those were one of the things that I looked at because I knew no matter what, if they have a defense, that gives us a shot to win.
Okay, coming up next, Willie, I know you have a question for Derek Mason, and so we will do that. Coming up next as you listen to the DDC on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, the Game Nashville app.
Every Wednesday at 5, join us for Jared versus Joe as they debate all of the big topics in sports, presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Mayweather Boxing and Fitness on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Mostly sunny and hazy today with an air quality alert out for ground level ozone, and it's going to be a warm one, high up to 94 degrees.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
If you suffer from joint pain from arthritis or an injury, you know the traditional treatments, pain meds, steroids, and then surgery, right? Willie Daunic here with great news. Now there's a better way, and it's here now from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. This is an advanced, exciting, and natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. Listen, steroid shots are toxic to your joints. Pain meds can be addictive, and nobody wants to go under the knife. It's 2022, and those old ways are out. The new way is in. Regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue using natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. QC Kinetics and their protocols can address any pain in any joint and give you the quality of life you deserve. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
More than 95% of people incarcerated will come home like I did. I'm William Arnold, director of the new Tennessee Office of Reentry. When they come home, we want to be ready to help remove barriers to employment. It's okay if you've been incarcerated or justice involved. Help is available. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
They say to never mess with the classics, but Panera did just that and more with our new Chef's Chicken Sandwiches. By using pan-seared chicken, our secret garlic aioli recipe, Parmesan crisps, and pickle chips, all on a buttery brioche roll. Because if no one messed with the classics, you never have a chicken sandwich this good. New Chef's Chicken Sandwiches from Panera. Only $1 delivery fee when you order on our app. Restrictions apply. For details, visit PaneraBread.com/delivery info.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to the DDC.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in on our phone or text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got some texts we'll get to in just a second as you listen to the DDC. Chase McCabe, Willie Daunic, Derek Mason here with you on a Wednesday. Willie D, I know you said you had a question for D Mace along these lines.
And I have some numbers here too, building on something a listener brought to our attention yesterday, this website. And look, I don't know if it's the end all be all dead accurate, but if it's in the ballpark, we have we definitely have something to talk about here. I'm curious, you've talked about your situation when you were a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Did your agent ever talk to you about, okay, Derek, if you go to this city, here is what the cost of living is, and we need to factor that in with what that team is offering you? Did you ever consider that?
When I was here, I knew what the situation was as far as cost of living,
right,
and no state income taxes. But back then, it was a different time. I don't think prices was as high. I don't think, obviously inflation wasn't what it is today. And I think, the cost of living, other than being in L.A. or New York, was right around, give or take a few percentages, right around the same. So we never really did discuss that because the teams I was looking at, they all had a state income tax anyway. So it really didn't matter,
Okay. A person yesterday brought to our attention this website called moneygeek.com.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always thrown this out there that your money goes further in Nashville, even though I think all of us living here for a while know that the cost of living has not gone down.
No, it's going up and up.
Derek, it's going up.
Uh-huh.
It's going up, but it's going up in a lot of places. So, relatively speaking, what advantage are we talking here? To me, this has got to be something that has been negotiated, and one of the reasons why the Predators might, and this is all speculation for me, why is it, people keep coming back with the same question, why is it taking this long? They want Philip Forsberg. Philip Forsberg says he wants to stay with the Predators. Why do they want to do it? Well, they're trying to keep as much cap space as they can. How would you build a championship team in Nashville? It's not a big market. Well, your money goes further if everybody takes, a little bit less, so to speak. You have more money to address the roster. That's common sense. I'm not saying that's what Philip Forsberg should do, but this has got to be something that's been presented to him. $8 million. I just typed in $8 million as annual salary because that's going to be in the ballpark. What would you have to make in Los Angeles to have the equivalent cost of living?
10?
Yeah, at least 10.
11.8, according to the website.
So almost $12 million.
11.8. You would spend 55% more of your income on necessities in Los Angeles as opposed to Nashville, Tennessee.
How's that working out for you, Freddie?
Well, yeah, but this is what everybody has said in light of what happened to Freddie Freeman, right? Did he really think about that stuff? Obviously, he's very emotional about it now. People were telling him
a river.
Crocodile tears.
Right, but I'm saying this is. Let's say they're off by $2 million. Maybe they're off by $2 million. It's still a $2 million advantage. You keep $2 million more. Now you could do it with any American city. Unfortunately, on this website, I can't make the equivalent for a Canadian city. But let's just we know this up front in general. You have way heavier taxes in Canada than you do in the United States, and the dollar isn't worth as much. So I think you can assume that $8 million in Canada goes a lot less further than $8 million in Nashville. So how much does that mean? So if I'm Philip Forsberg, I'm still coming back to you and saying, yes, but Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson make $8 million. So I'm more valuable to them. I'm more valuable than those two guys. It's nothing personal against them. So to me, this is the ballpark. This is the sweet spot. And I'm still perplexed why it's still going this further. But I'm just making a point. It is, I think if you're the agent, you should be presenting this. Like, this should be common knowledge to Philip Forsberg. If you're thinking about the L.A. Kings or the Philadelphia Flyers, Philadelphia, 10.3 in Philadelphia is the same as 8 in Nashville.
Well, okay, here's the deal, because I understand what you're saying, and from an economic standpoint, it does make sense. But if that is indeed the case, don't you think every free agent player will be trying to go to the Dallas Stars, the Nashville Predators, Tampa,
Dallas is
Florida,
about the same. St. Louis is about the same.
Yeah, they would always be trying to go to these, states that don't have a state income tax. But that is not truly the case.
But it also comes back to what? What about my no trade protection?
Exactly.
Right? So that should lead that into that part of the discussion too.
Because listen, I can sign the 8-year deal here, and the first 3 years of that deal, I'm not getting taxed. But what if they ship me out to California? What if they ship me to Canada? Then what?
That's why you got to have no trade.
Exactly. So then what? It's like, y'all are asking.
You don't want to deal. You don't want to deal with that, Shaw.
Exactly. Y'all are asking me. I said ship.
I know.
Believe you should have play under review. Are we throwing a challenge flag here?
Yeah. Challenge flag. I'm throwing it. No, y'all are asking me to stay here because they don't have a state income tax, to take a pay cut, but y'all are not pushing for Pollo to give me a no trade clause. What sense does that make?
He's getting a no trade clause.
We don't know that.
No,
we don't know that, but
we don't know that. But I hope he does.
I feel pretty good about it.
I hope he does, because if I do sign for a hometown discount, and after 3 or 4 years, when my play declines, he can send me to Canada. He can send me to L.A. He can send me to Philadelphia. He can send me to Detroit. And I still got to deal with the state income tax. And, I took less money. Who feels like the fool now? These are all the things you have to think about as a player and an agent. Y'all are absolutely right about hey, listen, you should factor this in. But I can factor that in if y'all ain't going to trade me.
Right. No, that's a fair point.
That's a fair point.
Texter.
If I'm the Predators, so let's work the opposite. Chase, you think? Let's just say the ballpark for him in the open market is $9 million. And let's even go $9.5 million. Okay, let's say somebody really lays it on thick. $9.5 million in Los Angeles is worth $6.4 in Nashville. So this is, and remember, you
don't
get
go to California.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, LA would be a team that's in position to try to make a move for Forsberg, right? They've got some good young pieces. They're on the rise. I don't know who their goalie's going to be, right? If I'm David Plum, I'm like, hey, do they have UC Saros? Do they have a Skarov down the road? I don't know. Pretty good goaltending here, but LA's got some good vibes going right now. They're pinpointed as kind of an up and coming team. That's real money there. That's per year. You're leaving $3 million on the table every year, with taxes and cost of living and all that stuff.
If you think about it, he would get a $400,000 raise. That's basically what he would get per year. Yeah. So I think it's a good point.
And let's not take this as the gospel, but let's just say even if you're off by a couple million per year, that's still a pretty big gap.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, real quick, a texter on the text line did not leave their name. Says y'all, and then puts Chase and Willie in parentheses, are wrong. To say that the Predators do not have a chance at winning the Stanley Cup in the next 1 or 2 years, there are 2 years with the correct additions, is absolutely incorrect. Okay.
What is he saying?
He's saying that because I said, I don't know why he lumped you in this. I said I don't think they're going to win it next year or the year after, because of teams ahead of them. Like, Tampa's not going anywhere. Colorado is not going anywhere. There are Florida is right there and ready to strike. I mean, there are other teams that are well ahead of them right now.
Well, I'm looking at the West. You got to win the West.
Yeah.
To win the West, you got to get through Colorado.
We didn't even talk about the other.
Well, in the West, the West is stronger than the East, I think, in some ways, especially the Central.
I'm not sure the way that the Rangers are building.
That's true.
The way that Florida is set themselves up here. Tampa probably is still going to be a pretty darn good team next year. I think the East might have a few more big time contenders. Yeah. Toronto is going to be a really interesting one. I think the West, there's going to be some more teams in flux in my opinion.
Sure. No, that's a good point. Okay, Viking Matt said that I need to quit picking on the NL Player of the Week, so I'm going to pick on the NL Player of the Week. Coming up next, as you listen to the DDC from the Hillside Medical Game Studios on 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You watch the game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch him. Derrick Henry, touchdown.
We talk talk the game.
I don't think it was a bad play, but he took out their goalie.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
If you missed the latest from Stillman & Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
I mean, I'm just telling you.
I'm saying the expectations are going to be high no matter what.
The Mannings know how to handle it. The Mannings know what they're doing.
I'm not saying he can't handle it, but I'm saying everyone is going to be looking to Arch Manning as the answer to all of Texas's prayers.
Just like Peyton was the answer to all of Tennessee's prayers. Just like Eli was the answer to the New York Giants' prayers. Yes, and the Mannings
but what
will
if
deliver.
He's not?
He will.
How do you know?
His last name's Manning, and the Mannings deliver. Did Peyton deliver?
Yeah.
Peyton delivered for everybody. He delivered for Tennessee. He delivered for Indianapolis. He delivered for Denver. Did Eli deliver?
Yeah.
He won 2 Super Bowl MVPs. The Mannings know what they're doing. The Horns are back.
I'm not buying it.
Tune in Stillman & Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
on ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-326-7765 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-326-7765. That's 800-326-7765. What do you have to lose? Call 800-326-7765. Again, 800-326-7765.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
NASCAR is back. Kyle Larson returns to Nashville Speedway a winner.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver. Awesome game 7. Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
a Cromwell media station.
Informative conversation while you work. This is the DDC. Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase McCabe, Willie Daunic, Derek Mason here with you on a Wednesday. Darren McFarland with the day off. He's off the rest of the week in St. Louis, the gateway city. We've been talking contracts all morning. You can weigh in at 615-737-1025. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And we got into this the other day a little bit when I was on, talking about Freddie Freeman and crying and how sad he was, coming back. And you could tell that he felt he made a mistake. Now he has reportedly fired his representation and is representing himself. And I'm gonna be honest. I don't feel any sympathy for him now.
Hold on. Okay. He's already signed his contract with LA.
Mm-hmm.
His agent has, I'm sure he gets 2-3% of the contract. Sure. Why did you fire him again? Unless another agent agreed to work for you without being paid and will do all your endorsements. But you decided to go to LA. then you fire your agent whom you got to pay anyway.
Yeah.
I just make him work for me. Hey, you continue to do your work.
He's mad. He's mad.
He need to be mad at himself.
He should be. Because he listened to the agent instead of listening to Larry Wayne Jones Jr., better known as Chipper. And had he listened to him, we wouldn't be in this mess right now.
Yeah, I don't
Larry, Larry. I'm a Mets fan chanting from Shea Stadium. Remember these?
Oh, yeah.
I don't see
they
why
used to give it to Chipper, man. They used to give it to Chipper.
Unless they had just tumultuous relationship after that and it can be repaired.
Well, I think they do because this is
unless he told
situation.
them something, unless he told Freddie Freeman something that hasn't been made public and he steered him completely in the wrong way.
I think he told him, I think it was, hey, you want to be, hey, look, we're going to get you back in Atlanta. But we're going to get you that 6th year. Because that was the whole holdup was they wanted us. Freddie wanted a 6th year. He wanted this contract to take him till he was 38 years old because he's 32 now. So he wanted the 6th year. Atlanta was only offering him 5. They didn't want to give him the 6th year. I think my thought process was when the DH rule was put in place that could help things, that Atlanta would be a little more open to the 6th year.
For the 6th year.
Because they knew that they had the DH to play with, that later on in Freddie's career he could become the designated hitter, which is likely going to happen in L.A. now. But I think the agent was telling him, hey, we got this. They're not going to let you walk. You're Mr. Brave. You just won the World Series with them. You got the last out. They're not going to let you walk. We got this. Just trust me on this. And he did. And it was the wrong move. He played it completely wrong. We read the quote from Chipper Jones in August where Chipper was telling a story from August and told him, if you want to be here, then be here, sign, because if you go to free agency, it's probably not going to end well for you because Alex Anthopoulos, the general manager, has a job to do, and he's not going to be able to match the offers you're going to get on the open market. Now, what's ironic is the breakdown of his contract with L.A. is about $27 million a year. What he would have gotten in Atlanta with what they were reportedly offering was $27 million a year. Which as we just discussed with Philip Forsberg, that's going to go further in Atlanta than it is.
Well, let's tell you how much further. I just put an extra 0 in there. Okay, how about this? Now, this is, again, Derek, you're making the point. And this is Philip Forsberg has got to know this. Okay, he can make the decision he wants. But if you're Freddie Freeman and you're crying tears and coming across, it sure seems like he misses Atlanta. Okay, that's what it looks like remorse. To me. Yeah, but here's what he should have known. All it takes is a couple of strokes of the keyboard here on MoneyGeek.com. $27 million in Atlanta. You got to make 36.8 in Los Angeles for it to be the same. So if he didn't know that, that's on him. He doesn't need an agent to go on MoneyGeek.com and punch that in there. And I think Larry Wayne, he's not a Phi Beta Kappa from Duke or anything like that, but he could have gone onto this keyboard and told him that too. Okay, somebody probably. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Somebody told him this. But he didn't listen. He listened to the agent.
It's the ego.
Okay, so now you can fire your agent, do whatever you want to do, but this is real money. That's all I'm pointing out.
No, and I think you're right. And the comparison with Forsberg, because it is similar right now, because you get the same vibes. Willie knows this.
Well, the money is a little bit steeper.
The money's different. The money's different,
situation,
obviously. Yeah. But I was on here for a year saying, they'll get it done. Yeah, it'll be fine. They'll get it done. I'm not worried about it. And Darren was like, I'd be worried if I was you. Like, there's stuff I've heard and talked to people, and I'm like, there's no way they're going to let him walk. And to be honest with you, there were times where, now going into the Predator season, I was like, I would be cautious signing Phillip to a long-term deal because we've seen how long-term deals have worked recently with the Predators. They just traded Ryan Ellis, had gone through all of that. Duchesne was looking like a bad contract. Johansson was looking like a bad contract. And so I was a little nervous about doing that. Phillip can't stay, was getting hurt and have that and all of that. But now I look at it and I go, okay, your team is going to be worse without him. He is a good player. He's somebody you need to hang on to. And so you start to get the feelings of, okay, he feels like Mr. Pred. Like he wants to be here. You want him to be here. But this Freeman situation has basically soured me on everything because there's just no loyalty in sports anymore. As you know, and you said it perfectly earlier that, there's loyalty, just how many zeros are we putting on there? But, I should have learned because at a young age, I grew up here, as I've said, grew up a Titans fan, so I got attached to Steve McNair, to Derek Mason, to Eddie George, to Javon Curse. And I thought, you guys will never leave. Like, you'll be the Titans forever. And then we all saw what happened. Eddie gets traded away to my Cowboys, so that worked out. Didn't work out for him, but, at the time, I was like, oh, cool. And you guys get cut, and the band breaks up. And then you get new players that come in. And that's sport. That's where it is now. That's the salary cap world. But for Freddie, he's a smart guy. And he has to know that stuff. And I know he knew that stuff. And I think the reason that he's upset is, even though he's not saying it, he's more upset with himself than anybody else.
Well,
because he should be.
Yeah. But listen, if you win a championship in L.A., you will quickly forget about, not signing back with the Braves. Because some towns you win a championship in is bigger than winning a championship in other towns. You win a championship in L.A. again, that's huge. Not just from a play standpoint, but from a marketing standpoint. It's huge. You win in L.A.
Right.
With him on there. So if indeed they do, they're still one of the better teams, in the National League. I know they're dealing with injury. But if they could put themselves in a position to win another championship, then all the stuff that we're talking about and his grievances he has with his agent, he will forget about those. Because he will be able to make some of that money back up. Not to say he's going to make it all back up, but he will be able to make some of that money back up with endorsements and everything else. That's like winning a championship in say, L.A., winning a championship in Chicago, winning a championship in New York. Places like that is huge in any sport, basketball, football, baseball, hockey. You win a championship in those particular cities where they are just like immersed in their sport. Oh, it's huge. So right now he's feeling it, and he's having buyer's remorse. But, let the season continue to go. And if they put themselves in a position to win another World Series, he will soon forget about what all took place.
He needs to, but I don't know if he will. Willie, I have an assignment for you during the break. Wes in Clarksville wants to know, how does A.J. Brown's money in Philadelphia compare to here?
Okay.
The $25 million a year, the rough estimate of that's the annual average.
Okay.
So that's your assignment.
What money? What are we putting as AJ's salary this year?
Well, I mean, you can do the.
I mean, it really doesn't. It's all relative. But
you can do the 20 because it totaled out. It averages out to be what, 25 per.
He's making this year with his base salary and his cap or in his signing bonus. He's making $5.6 million. But it's a $100 million contract, and so it averages out to $25 million.
25. So just take the 25.
Yeah. So just do that.
We'll take $25 million, just a nice round number.
And we'll get that answer coming up next.
What is $25 million in Philly compared to Nashville? $25 million in Nashville.
How many cheesesteaks is that going to get him
in
Philadelphia? It's the DDC presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, a York-certified comfort expert company. Schedule now at springhillac.com as you listen on 106.3, 102.5 in the Game Nashville app.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
1025 and 1063 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford South. I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is we've been getting more and more new vehicles in stock every day. The bad news is they go out as quick as they come in. So be sure to reach out and let us know what you're looking for. And as soon as it comes in, we can call you. We can even order a new vehicle to your exact wants and needs. Don't worry, we have more good news. We have a great way for you to get some extra cash for all your summer adventures. We're buying any and all used cars. We're offering top dollar for your vehicle. Reach out. We can start with an online video appraisal. Even more good news. With Newton Fast Pass, you can buy a car without ever leaving the pool. Really? You can buy your car from anywhere. Wherever you are, you can buy online. And on top of that, we'll deliver the car to you. Build your car or buy your car online in Newton today. Visit NewtonFordSouth.com to learn more.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 5 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, zero interest financing on practically everything in our showcases. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. How about a stunning $12,000 designer ring, complete with a GIA diamond for just $200 a month? It's the smartest, easiest, and best way to buy. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Unapproved credit.
Hey, Willie Daunic here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at NashvilleMoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to the DDC.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On ESPN 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
DDC 1025, 1063 The Game Nashville app. Chase McCabe, Derek Mason, Willie Daunic here with you on a Wednesday. It's all presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Remember, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. All right, Willie, what have you discovered in your research?
Well, anybody could do this. And I'm sure you could probably, if you're out there and you're an accountant or a tax guy or an agent, you would probably call this show and say, well, there are things you can do to offset some of these things that we're talking about. Where you live, can you keep a second residence somewhere? There's ways to protect your income. But
there's loopholes.
Yeah. But, for every loophole, there's, you got to where are you going to have your kids and everything like that? Are you going to live in a separate place than where your family lives? All of these things. But AJ, let's put in Philadelphia, he's going to get $25 million per year. Mm-hmm. That would be the same as making $32 million in Nashville. In other words, it's 29% more cost of living in Philadelphia than it is in Nashville. So your money. So if you flip-flopped it, making $25 million in Philadelphia, you would have the same cost of living as if you made $19 million in Nashville.
So basically, if it's true what the Titans were offering him, and a little bit less than 20 or right at 20, then hell, he should have just stayed here.
Yeah.
If you go.
But it's the optics of it. It's the optics.
It's the optics. People get caught up in the optics.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in football, it's not as much guaranteed. Your career could change on a dime. But I do think, even if you don't buy these numbers exactly, there's a difference. It is real money living here as opposed to Philadelphia, New York, Los Angeles. Pick a city. Boston, you don't even want to know.
No,
my goodness.
Yeah, you don't want to
Boston
go there.
is ridiculous.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think players too don't always look at the fake years on an NFL contract because they're not fully guaranteed. I mean, Andrew on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, with all the AJ money on the last fake year, he doesn't remotely make $25 million a year, which is true.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, did AJ think that through, or was it he just saw $25 million a year and jumped at it?
Well,
I think a lot of players run into that.
I'm pretty sure he looked at the per average a year, the average per year, and it says 25 point whatever, which puts him in the top 5 or 10 of receivers. But he didn't get guaranteed, I don't believe, top 5 receiver money guaranteed.
I mean, he's still got 57.
He still got a little. Listen, he ain't worrying about where his hungry man meal is coming from next.
He all right.
Exactly. He's doing
the cheesesteaks
better
are going to
than
be
well.
flowing.
Exactly.
Cheesesteaks,
Absolutely.
got plenty of cheesesteaks.
Absolutely. But when guys 20 years ago didn't look at it the way guys should now, because the way contracts are, so many, it seems like there's a new contract done every day, it seems, or every week, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, hockey. There's a new contract being done. So now guys, I think, are more educated on, okay, if I get 25, if it's saying 25 mil per year, how much of this am I really getting? I don't think, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, there was that much knowledge.
How did you learn?
Just watching, just paying attention. And listen, Lamont and Peter did a good job at sort of breaking it down. This is how much we're trying to get you, as much as possible up front. And this is how much you should get. And I was very fortunate that, with the exception of the Titans, I was able to play every contract out.
Yeah.
With the exception of being here. But it was like, okay, we're trying to get you all the money we possibly can up front. These years, you might not see them. Like, if I got $3 million the first year, and like my last contract I did, it was X amount this year, but then it ballooned to like 7 or 8 million more the next following year. Well, I knew I wasn't seeing that. I was already 38 years old, or 37 going on 38. I knew it, but I walked in it understanding that was the case.
Right.
If guys walk in understanding that's the case now, then something's wrong. It's like, listen, don't give me all that backloading money just so it can inflate the per year, because the per year helps nobody but who? The agent.
Right.
When he's recruiting other guys. It doesn't help the player. So it's like, okay, if I'm signing a contract now, I don't want $37 million. If I'm signing a 5-year deal, I don't want $37 million on the 5th year. You know why? Because I'm never going to see that $37 million. I'm not. So give me more up front, and I take less on that 5th year.
So, question. This just came in on the text line from Mike from Las Casas, and you could answer this better than I could. And, Willie, maybe you could too. I believe in the NFL, the player pays the local state taxes of the city they play in every week. Is that also true in the NHL? If so, 41 games a year are played in a state with an income tax.
It's called a entertainment tax, I believe. And I first realized it in Ohio because we played twice in Ohio. And I think their big thing, especially in Cincinnati, they were like, all these entertainers are coming in here and they're not paying taxes. So they added on an entertainment tax, which means if you play in my city, then we get to tax you. I don't care if you're there for one day. We get to tax you. And I think every other city is that way. You would be a fool not to have your city that way. I'm pretty sure that Tennessee probably has it. Like if you come and play in our state, you got to pay an entertainment tax.
Yes.
You know, so that's all over the league in the NFL at least.
The NHL has actually brought that up to try to say, is there anything we can do about this? Like as an announcer, I get a little thing from a lot of the states. You know, you owe us $53 for your 2 games that you came in and called in X state.
Well, don't you have to pay the union in New York or something with the union, like have union fees?
Who, us, the players?
No, I'm asking Willie.
NHL, oh.
Like, doesn't the unions?
What union?
Well, isn't there New York different and has like a workers union or something like that? Or am I making that up?
I don't think that. I've never seen anything like that. It's just, I think it's just whoever.
Oh, okay, I got you.
But for the players, you know, that money adds up. They play a lot of games, and they make a lot more than I do. You know, so that whatever I'm paying,
just think of it.
You know, it just takes a little chunk. It's just all these little things. Like I talked to Hal Gill once about the cost of moving. If you have a family, especially, if you want to move your house from one city to another, it's
a pretty penny.
You got kids, it's not cheap, right? D-Mace, you know about this.
No, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
It's not.
So these are all sort of hidden costs. All we see as announcers, fans, you see the headline or the tweet. So-and-so has signed a 3-year, $30 million contract. Well, let's talk about what the agent makes. Let's talk about what it's going to cost you to move your family. Let's talk about the cost of living change from one city. All these things are important things that we never see.
And listen, I don't expect the fans to understand that part, because even with all that, I'm still getting paid great money,
Right.
So it's not for me to sit here and bellyache, oh, they tax me this much, or, oh, I got to do this. Listen, just think if you got to go to L.A., twice a year. You got to play the Rams. You got to play the Chargers. Or Oakland when Oakland was, in L.A. So you had to go to California 3 times.
Yeah.
And you're paying taxes every time. That's a lot of money. Not to mention you got to go to New York to play, So it adds up. But again,
nobody's going to cry a river.
Nobody's going to. I was blessed to make enough money to take care of me and my family until the day that I'm no longer on this earth. So I'm not complaining.
Yeah, and you've been smart with
exactly.
it too.
So I'm not complaining. It's like
not every athlete can say that.
Yeah,
you're right about
that. That does underscore a point that you do need to be smart. And all the college players that are fortunate enough to get some NIL, you better know what to do with it, or else it'll be whoop.
Yep.
On.
No doubt about it. So speaking of money, wide receivers, the position that Derek played in his career, they have been making money this offseason. We'll discuss that coming up next as you listen to the DDC on 102.5, 106.3 The Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Matt Duchene, and this is Smashville.
Running down the left side with Duchene. Duchene scores! Matt Duchene with the overtime winner.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 1025 The Game.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Inviting you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and it's time to step up to the tee and take a swing at betting the PGA Tour on FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet the Tour with a no-sweat first bet. If you don't win, you'll get up to $1,000 back in free bets. I really like Scotty Scheffler. He's been playing really well all year long. Rory McIlroy as well. With that smooth swing, he's been very consistent this season. But you take it any way you want to take it. Just make sure you do it on FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. They've got great promotions every day. The app is safe and secure, and you get paid quickly as well. So download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Sign up using promo code ROB to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. FanDuel Sportsbook, an official betting operator of the PGA Tour. Make sure you sign up with promo code ROB. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman Tractor and Equipment. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Their service and parts team will get your work site up and running in no time. Parman Tractor and Equipment will come to you for service if needed. Visit ParmanTractor.com for more info. Your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer, providing totally outrageous customer service.
We're saluting 4 more of our teammates at Cromwell Media this month. Cindy Johns in sales has been here 20 years. Lakin King, who handles all our commercial logs, is enjoying 13 years. Operations Manager Ace Swartz is toasting 12 years with us. And Chase McCabe, Program Director for our Sportstalk stations, chalks up 10 years. That's 55 years of combined experience with our company. There's a reason for that tenure. We value our employees and do our very best to create a great work experience. Check us out at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stomach Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, Nashville, this is Dan Lebitard. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Back here on the DDC, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Derek Mason, Willie Daunic, Elijah Campbell here with you. And, yeah, we are talking some money. Wide receiver money. And I would imagine as we go through these contracts that have been handed out this summer for these receivers that D-Mace, I don't know. You said, you made some good money in your career, but don't you wish you were playing now?
Good to be
of course, man. I'm not a fool now. I may be satisfied with the money that I have and content, but I'm not no fool.
Because if I was you, I'd look at what I made. I'd look at what they made and go,
exactly.
Damn.
They make them 1 year, then I made in a contract. Some of these guys, a few of these top tier guys where they're making, almost 30, if not 30 million per year. And now that's what the average is. Now they're not making that, during that play year, but on average, it's still a lot of money. And listen, we made more money than the guys made
Right.
prior to us. They paved the way for us, to make a lot of money. People like Reggie White and Seth Joyner, guys that held out, so we can have a collective bargaining. So we didn't have to be tied to one team where the owners had all the leverage. Those guys paved the way for guys like myself, Eddie, Blaine, Mac, to make the money that we made. And we paved the way so guys like AJ and Tyreek and, whoever else is playing to make the money they're making. So it's only going to increase. Guys 10 years from now they're going to be looking at the money that Tyreek made 4 years, $120 million, and be laughing. Like, seriously, that's how much they made?
Right.
We're making way more than that.
Yeah, but here's the thing too, and so the Field Yates tweeted this out yesterday of a list of all the wide receiver deals this offseason. Devontae Adams, 5 years, $142 million, is at the top. You just mentioned Tyreek, 4 years, $120 million. AJ was third, 4 years, $100 million. Stephon Diggs, 4 years, $96 million. Cooper Kupp, 3 years, $80.1 million. Terry McLaurin, who got his deal yesterday, 3 years, $71 million. DJ Moore, 3 years, $61.8 million. And then Mike Williams and Chris Godwin, 3 years, $60 million. The thing that bums me out is, like, guys like you in your era, I think, recognized what the guys before you did and paved the way for you. I don't feel like that happens as much anymore.
They don't.
I think some do. I'm not going to lump everybody together.
I'm not going to sit here and, feel some type of way because they don't. They're just trying to make as much money as they possibly can in such a short amount of time.
Sure.
And that's what we tried to do back then. And that's what the guys before us allowed, because of the things that they did, allowed us to make the money and have the leverage that we had then. And subsequently, the guys have more leverage now. But you look at these contracts and, Devontae Adams, they have a good shot at making it to the Super Bowl. Okay, because they have a nucleus put together. Their defense is pretty good. They have a, whatever you think about Carr.
I think
he's a franchise quarterback. Now, some other people may not think that, but I think Carr
I don't think
is
he's
damn
elite,
good.
but I think
he's the guy that you can win with your franchise. You add some pieces around him like Vegas did, and they're going to see where that goes. Tyreek Hill, in their situation they're in, you don't know if that team's going to be good with the quarterback. The jury is still out on Tua Tagovailoa. So you look at A.J. Brown, the jury is still out on their quarterback.
Jalen Hurts.
Stephon Diggs. Well, you can win the championship with their quarterback, and that defense that they're putting together. Cooper Kupp has already won the championship. Terry McLaurin, you don't know what's going on with them. They're still trying to fight to be relevant in their own little division.
Willie, what do you think about that deal for him? 3 years, $71 million.
It's a good question because I think if there was one guy on that whole list that might be able to just leverage and said, you know what, I'm all you've got. You don't have anything else besides me. It could have been Terry McLaurin. So first of all, I want to throw it to D-Mace. How do you evaluate him? What do you see when you watch him? Because we know he's not playing for the Air Coryell Chargers of the late 70s, early 80s with Dan Fouts and all those guys, right? So is he? I mean, he's obviously a very good talent. Like some of us maybe have had him at somewhere in the fantasy team. It's like you have to take into account who's throwing him the ball.
Exactly.
But yet he still is productive.
Yeah, he is. He's a guy that, he's had several different quarterbacks. And he's been able to, produce. Last year he had over 1,000 yards.
He's done that 2 out of the 3 years.
2 out of the 3 years that he's been in the league, he's had over 1,000 yards. Now, his first year, he came close to 1,000 yards. So I think the deal that he signed was a good deal for both he and the organization, because if you look at it, it's only a 3-year deal. He's 25, 26. So at the end of the deal, he's 20, 28, 29 years old, and if he continues to play very well, he can get another big contract, but he doesn't have to stay in Washington if they haven't proven that, hey, listen, they got a quarterback and a team that can win, not just win their division, but win a championship. So he can get out of this contract and still be young after 3 years. So his contract, compared to everybody else's contract, might be the best contract because he's only in it for 3 years. And he's guaranteed that money.
What that illustrates to me is that Washington had to show the love to say, okay, this guy could make our life miserable. I'm not sure. I'm not sure this guy really, at the end of the day, is tied to us. So we've got to make sure we pay, and we pay well. And like you said, D. Mace, they packaged it in a way and said, okay, give it these next few years. Let us get our act together here. We'll pay you really well, and if you don't like it, you can test the market.
But I don't know where he ranks. As far, is he a top 5 receiver? No, he's not.
Who's the top 5?
But is he a top 10 receiver? He's a young receiver. He might be a top 5, top 10 receiver. If I'm just, going off of, my head, I would say, Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, who else?
Devontae
Adams.
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson. And I want to put the kid from Cincinnati in there, but he has to do it another year for me. He has to do it another 2 years.
Jamar Chase?
Yeah, he has to do it another 2 years. I think people get so enamored over one season, and already then they quickly anoint somebody, and then the next season come back and they got to eat crow because the guy didn't do well. Jamar Chase, I think he's an awesome talent. I just need to see him do it another year.
He almost had 1,500 yards.
I need to see him do it another. Now that everybody understands who he is and what he can do, and everybody's going to be watching him now, and defenses are going to truly be game planning for him, if he can duplicate that or get close, then yes, he's on his way to being one of the top receivers, not just young receivers, but top receivers in the National Football League. But we named 5 guys. Even Justin Jefferson's the same way. I think he needs another year. To me, he's a really good receiver, but he's not in the Devontae Adams category.
Where do you put Debo?
Debo is,
because he's the next one. He's the next one that's going to get
paid.
Debo
is a top 10 receiver, but where at in that top tier? He's not a top 5 receiver.
Well, last year with yards.
Yards wide. He's not a top 5 receiver to me, and I named my top 5. Hell, I'm throwing D-Hop in there as well, Hopkins in there as well, but he was hurt last year.
Yeah.
But when that guy is fully healthy, there's nobody better. There is nobody better. I've never seen someone catch the ball better. The only one person I've seen catch the ball better than him, and that was Chris Carter. That's the only person that I've ever seen catch the football so effortlessly better than Hopkins is Chris Carter and maybe Fitzgerald.
Here's what real quick, Willie. Here's what I'll say about Debo. He had just over 1,400 yards last year on 77 receptions because 23 of those receptions were 20-plus yards. I mean, that's impressive.
I got to, when I'm evaluating these guys, I'm looking at, what do they do within their offense? Are they running a route tree? Can they play inside? Can they play outside? Can they do both? Or are they strictly an inside guy where they're stacking guys and getting guys off of them? Can't nobody touch them because they're in this stack or this bunch? Are they throwing these little screen passes and allowing him to run? Because essentially, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's better than just about anybody in the National Football League. That's what I love so much about A.J. Brown. Not necessarily that he was a great route runner, because he wasn't. But when he got the ball in his hands, he was a dynamic runner. So when I'm looking at Debo, he's a dynamic runner. But can I just strictly put Debo outside and he still put up the numbers? I don't think I can.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's fair. Jamar Chase is that dude. I'm one of those.
Listen,
I'm one of those after a year.
I'm not saying he's not.
He's that dude.
I'm just saying I'm the guy that says you have to do it repeatedly over. You got to do it
understand.
another year, and if you do it another year, then I'm like, okay, hey.
But here's the
But
thing.
he is, from what I've seen him in college.
Like, he's that dude.
And I said he was the guy, that whole trio they had.
Yeah.
And he's been able to do it in the NFL his first year. I need to see another year
Well,
of it.
because I think his quarterback is that dude too. So that certainly
That helps.
Coming up next, Willie has some wide receiver questions for fantasy football that he's going to throw at us. We will do that. Coming up here in a few as you listen to the DDC on 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Ample Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway.
On ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Mostly sunny and hazy today with an air quality alert out for ground level ozone, and it's going to be a warm one, high up to 94 degrees.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Summer heat is here. How is your air conditioner holding up? Costs are rising everywhere. Grocery bills, gas bills, utility bills, you name it, up, up, up. Is your AC old, inefficient, and costing more than it should? Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Qualified buyers have up to 72 months. No interest for a new York air conditioner and 6 months no interest for repairs. That's at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. All new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. That's at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, a York certified comfort expert company. Schedule now at springhillac.com.
Hey, this is Sean Ford, Director of Sales for ESPN 102.5 The Game. I'm looking for talented salespeople to add to our dynamic and growing team. If you're an experienced seller who's looking for a new adventure and a career path that offers more excitement and new opportunities, you may want to listen up. First of all, if you're hearing this message, you're probably already a fan of The Game. We have a long list of local businesses who are fans too and love what we do to help them grow. You might be someone who could be a part of that experience. Are you comfortable meeting strangers and earning their trust? Do you enjoy working in a team environment, but self-motivated to set and achieve your own personal goals? Are you a creative person who loves to share your ideas with others? Do you thrive on making a difference in your community? If the answers to all those questions was yes, then we should talk. Send your resume and cover letter to together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com. Let's see if we're a good match. Cromwell Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexroad.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexroad. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to the DDC.
presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
We are your racing station. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game is Nashville's home for NASCAR. Tune in Sunday at 1 o'clock for the Quick Trip 250 from Road America. You can also join some guy named Chase McCabe every Sunday morning at 8 for Chasing Checkers as I talk to the drivers and get you set for race weekend. Ty Dillon going to join us from the NASCAR front. Simon Pagenaud from IndyCar are going to join the show this week. NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game is presented by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. SRX coming to that track July 9th. Going to be awesome. Fun show last year that they had, so it will be a good one. Back here on the DDC, Chase McCabe, Derek Mason, Willie Daunic, Elijah Campbell here with you. And all right, Willie, throw out your fantasy questions for wide receiver.
Yeah, and you can interpret these as direct fantasy questions or fantasy questions that also are just questions that a team would have. But I think it's interesting from a fantasy owner's perspective. I've tossed these out to Darren and Elijah in the last few days, so I'd love to get Derek's take on this and yours as well, Chase. Let's start with Tyreek Hill. D-Mace, you have always touted him as he's a legit weapon for sure. But changing teams to the Dolphins, I think a lot of Dolphins fans would be curious, as well as anybody that's going to draft him. What does he have to do to be worth what they gave up to get him? They gave up 3 draft picks, including a first and a second. They're paying him elite money. He's about to be 28 for the season. This is his age 28 season coming up here. His best year was 2 years ago. He had 15 touchdown catches, as well as, if I'm reading this right, 2 more running the ball as well. So when you're giving up that kind of draft capital plus paying him big money salary-wise, you're trying to elevate yourself. What are realistic numbers for Tyreek Hill in Miami?
Tyreek is one of few guys. There's only like a handful of guys in today's game that are truly what I call secondary shifters, where they make, like, as soon as they line up, like everybody, those 2 back safeties are watching where they go. Tyreek Hill is one of those guys. And now subsequently he suffered because of that, because guys were like, we're not letting you get deep anymore. That's just not happening. So last year I think was the year that he averaged the least amount per catch.
Yes, it went down to 11 yards
exactly.
a catch, 11.2, and he only had 9 touchdowns. But that's a point you're making, is he can still have a big impact on the game. He had more receptions, 111 as a result.
Yeah, so he's going to still have – what if – they're paying him $30 million. What I need to see as a GM and as a head coach, offensive coordinator, one, with the addition of you, as it starts to go on, did my quarterback get better? Because obviously Tua is not a bad quarterback, but there's still this, is he the elite quarterback? Did he just need some weapons around him? Well, he showed in Alabama he was an elite quarterback. Well, Alabama had a bunch of first-rounders at wide receivers. So what they're trying to do is duplicate what they did at Alabama. Put Waddle out there, give him Tyreek Hill. They got a tight end, running back. So now you have the weapons. Does Tyreek Hill afford us the ability that our quarterback gets better now?
Yeah.
If that happens, he may not catch – he may not catch 111 balls. But with Tyreek out there, did our quarterback get better, and did the other guys in that room get better as well? Did we become a better and more efficient passing team with Tyreek Hill out there? Because if you're basing the numbers on like his salary based, equating to what numbers he should, have at the end of the season. Well, if I'm paying you $30 million, realistically, you should have 1,500 yards,
right,
over 10 touchdowns. But we know that's not going to be the case. So if you still have over 1,100 yards, say if he repeats what he did last year with the Kansas City Chiefs, the record improves with Miami, Tua gets better, and everybody else get better too. Waddle have more catches, or he has more yards per catches.
Waddle's the one that's going to help.
Yeah, or the tight end has more yards per catch or more touchdowns. And if it's all directly because of Tyreek Hill, then the money we paid him was well worth it.
All right, Chase, you and I are co-owners of a fantasy team. You hear Derek's take there, and I think that's a great point. For the Dolphins, it may not directly be just the numbers, right? If the numbers lead to wins, better performances from other guys, then he's worth it, even though maybe his numbers aren't quite the same. So where are we drafting Tyreek? Is he a wide receiver one on a fantasy team? I think that's going to be a really interesting question for all of us.
I think you're going to have most fantasy owners take him in the first round.
I think you have to take him.
Yeah.
You know, because he's still going to be a huge part of what they do week in and week out.
And they're going to build the
Exactly.
offense, you know, they're going to build
They're going to build a
around
passing
it.
offense around Tyreek Hill.
But they can add other running packages in there too, and it's going to help Jalen Waddle. I mean, that's who it's going to help, because even though you may go into that game as a defense and say, okay, well, he has Tua now. Tua's not Patrick Mahomes, but you still have to respect what Tyreek Hill can do. You can't just ignore that. And I think, you know, and Derek, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a receiver like him that knows that now the league is not letting him go deep, you know, that's gonna. He's worked on his routes, so he's probably gonna run better routes. That's something he's focused on, because he's trying to get the ball as quickly as possible, and then make something out of the play. He kind of becomes a running back, which he's able to do.
They have to be more creative in trying to get him the ball down the field. The unfortunate part about Kansas City was he was only really, and I know, you know, Kelsey is a stud. You know, Hartman was sort of the second speed guy, but no one was Tyreek Hill. No one. It wasn't like he can depend on Hartman to take the top off like he did, and then teams are sort of like, you know, not concentrating as much on Tyreek Hill. No, they made sure Tyreek Hill didn't get deep, and it opened up everything for everybody else. Waddle averaged 9.8 yards of reception. That's just a glorified running back, because they didn't have the ability to get him downfield because of the packages or the plays they were calling, because he was really the only guy they had. Well, now you add in Tyreek Hill. If his per yard, I would be really surprised if he's averaging less than 12 yards per catch next year, this upcoming season. Waddle, I would be really surprised. Now with the addition of Tyreek Hill, it opens up the field more for Waddle.
Yeah, I think
it's really going to be something to watch. That's an interesting.
Waddle was another guy you better.
What we're talking about there.
You need to pick on your fantasy team.
I agree.
No doubt,
because he had a good rookie year.
Yeah,
PPR, it's a no-brainer. But you know, conventional fantasy, I think that's one to watch. You know, who ends up with all the production for that team? All right, let's squeeze in one more
real quick
before we go to the break. Packers redefining their wide receiver spot, kind of like the Titans are, right? But they got Aaron Rodgers. So from a fantasy perspective, give me your thought on two guys, D-Mace, Alan Lazard, who's been there, and Sammy Watkins. We just talked about the Chiefs. He goes there. Okay, he's always a total enigma. So give me your thought on, you know, what we're looking at production from those two guys.
Well, Sammy
Watkins.
Watkins.
That Aaron Rodgers is throwing it to him.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers throwing you the ball. I mean, your production should go up.
Doesn't hurt.
Exactly. It's not like it's me or Chase throwing you the ball, or you, Willie.
Yep.
You got
and Devontae's not there. Right?
Exactly.
Hey, I'm a lefty, man. I'll get it to you, D-Mace. I got that lefty touch. Kenny Stabler.
Maybe 5 yards down the field, yes.
Yeah.
But Alan Lazard, he was targeted 60 times, so you figure it should be at least 90 times he's going to be targeted. He had 40 receptions, so you should almost 60 to 70 receptions. He should have over 1,000 yards. He had 8 touchdowns last year. With Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, you're going to be close. If you're a starter, you're going to be close, or if not, in double digits when it comes to touchdowns. So I see Alan Lazard's numbers getting better than what they were last year. I think he will be a 1,000-yard receiver. I think he will have close to double. This is if he stays healthy. He will have close to, if not double-digit touchdowns. So he's going to be that guy that Aaron Rodgers looks to.
Right.
Sammy Watkins he got to stay healthy, man. Sammy's a really good receiver, but he can never stay healthy.
I agree with everything he just said. on that. So I think you're spot on.
I'm just taking notes, Chase, because we got a draft coming up here in about a month here.
We do.
We can ready for this.
We can get to more of these later in the show, but coming up next, we're going to talk to Mitch Light of The Athletic. We'll get into some college football topics with him as you listen to the DDC here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You watch the game.
From the left circle.
We talk the game.
You can't just pick up one guy and be competitive in the playoffs.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
The Authentically American 4th of July collection is live and ready to ship. Go to authenticallyamerican.us right now to order yours. Plus, 20% of all purchases from the 4th of July collection will be donated to Homes for Our Troops, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to build and donate specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans to enable them and to rebuild their lives. Have a happy and safe 4th of July from Authentically American. Made for you, made in America. Authentically American.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
And I know a lot of you all don't believe a lot of the things that I say, or a lot of you don't agree with my opinions. This is the reporter hat that is on right now. So that everybody, they are not, what I was told was the Cervali report is not true. Trade protection with Forsberg is not an issue right now. And previously, I had told you all that I had 100% confidence that the Predators and Philip Forsberg were going to get a deal done. Now, this is where I'm kind of morphing back into kind of the opinion side here. After what I heard today, I would change my prediction from 100% to 101%. It's going to get done.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
on ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
More than 95% of people incarcerated in Tennessee will come home.
I knew it would be tough re-entering society, and I figured I would need help.
It's okay. Help is available. The new Tennessee Office of Reentry helps get jobs for people who have been arrested, charged, incarcerated on probation or parole.
Man, I'm glad to get some help.
For more info, go to tnworkready.com.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road to DDC.
Stillman and Company. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
a Cromwell media station.
Informative conversation while you work. This is the DDC. Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Hour number 3 of the DDC here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Willie Daunic, Derek Mason, Elijah Campbell on the ones and twos. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. Let's say hello to Mitch Light from The Athletic as we talk some college football with him. Mitch, how you doing?
I'm good. And Chase, Willie told me that Darren was on vacation. He didn't tell me you were going to be on the air. I don't know if I would have agreed to this, but it's a little late for that right now.
You're here now. You're stuck with me now. So now I got to make the questions hard-hitting. But I will say this. One thing that is happening right now in college football is making me very, very happy, and that is these conferences are finally getting it right, and they're getting rid of these divisions that I know they created because of geography and because of all the teams they had and yada, yada, yada. I hate divisions, and I'm glad they're going away. The ACC, the latest conference to do that, joining the Pac-12. The Big 12 already didn't have them, and it looks like the Big 10 and the SEC will probably follow suit at some point. What do you make of the ACC's model of the 3-5-5 scheduling model that is going to start in 2023?
Well, yeah, and I agree with you on the divisions. They're basically put in place for championship games. There was an NCAA rule that I think the way it was written that you had to have divisions to play in championship games, so it made sense, but that rule's no longer in place. So, yeah, I think if you're going to stay at 8, I think the 3-5-5 works well. I think, I don't know. I mean, a couple of weeks ago I would have said the SEC was going to be at 9. Who knows right now? But, I think it's good. You're always going to have some teams kind of complaining, but, the ACC is so balanced. Clemson's obviously been very good of late. Florida State has the potential. Virginia Tech over its history has been good. But there's so much fluctuation between when these teams being good and bad. Like, it's hard really to complain about anybody. Like, if you get Wake Forest in your schedule right now, you're like, oh, man, just our luck. Wake's good now. Well, where are they going to be in 5 years? Duke is terrible right now, but they won the division 5, 6, 7 years ago under David Cutcliffe. So I think if you get like a Clemson on your rotating schedule, that's a tough draw. But other than that, there's not much to complain about. But the big picture, yeah, I think this is the way we're going to be going. And, it'll take some time to get used to, because I don't, when you guys hear South Carolina, you think SEC East. There's just certain, I just picked them randomly. There's just, we associate teams with conferences and divisions. It'll take a little while to get used to it.
So the ACC, they're basically have 3 protects. The primary opponents is what they're calling them, but protecting 3 rivalries, so to speak. And, the ACC is a little bit different when it comes to that. I think the SEC is going to have the hardest time of figuring that out of what rivalries you protect for each team. Would you agree with that?
Yes, no doubt. First of all, there's more rivalries. There's more established teams, more established programs. And I'm just kind of thinking this through as I'm saying. Like, sure, the SEC's expanded, but look at the ACC. I mean, like Pittsburgh and Syracuse, those are relatively new. I mean, how many rivalries are they going to have? They're playing each other. So, like, that's good. But there's less tradition, I guess, in the ACC than the SEC. And no one's going to – you would think no one wants to play Alabama every year. Maybe Tennessee does. I don't know. It's good for the schedule. It's good for the fans. It's not good for your, trying to make the playoff. Obviously, a lot of programs are going to want to play Vanderbilt every year. And so that's part of it. There's a lot of bickering back and forth. And it's just, we saw Tennessee-Auburn go by the wayside, which was once a great rivalry. That's one thing we're going to have to get used to. Some of these games not being played every year, but we adjust. It took me, Willie, you can chime in here. South Carolina and Arkansas joined the league when we were in college. It took me about 10 years to think of South Carolina as an SEC team. Sometimes I still don't.
Well, they don't play like it sometimes.
Yeah,
Mitch.
true.
Now, Mitch, looking at the Big 12, now we know that Texas will be leaving, Oklahoma will be leaving. They got a new commissioner. UCF, BYU, Houston, and Cincinnati will be the new members in 2023. Where does this put the Big 12? It doesn't seem to have the luster it used to have.
No, it won't, Derek. And I get into this debate a lot with one of my colleagues, Ari Wasserman, on the podcast we do. His point is always like, sure, it's going to be a Power 5 league in name, but is it really going to be judged as a Power 5 league by the selection committee? Now, you can counter that by saying, hey, Baylor has been a very good team. They won the league last year. They won the league with Texas and Oklahoma in it. And Baylor, one thing that they've done is they have been good under 3 coaches recently, which is very difficult to do. When you judge a program, usually doesn't have staying power. If it's only been good under one coach, you say maybe not. But they've made great hires. And it looks like Dave Aranda is there. He's kind of recommitted. Oklahoma State has quietly been one of the most consistent programs in the country, and Texas Tech is recruiting very well. Houston has potential, but I agree with you. It's going to be a very solid football conference, but one without those marquee programs. And, a lot of people judge leagues by how good are you at the top. That's not how you got to judge the Big 12. It's going to be like they might have the most balanced league. It might be a fun league. Every team might go 5-4, but it's definitely going to be lacking those marquee programs.
Can you see this potentially happening with any other conference other than obviously the Big 12? I mean, not the Big 12, but the Big 10, SEC. Can you see other conferences trying to jockey and position themselves with teams to be up there with the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, we just had this recent round of expansion, realignment, obviously with those teams going to the Big 12. I mean, there's always speculation. I think we are kind of going to be in a holding pattern right now. I think if the next big move, if it ever happens, would be some sort of Power 5 break off from the rest of the FBS and, what you want to call them, super conferences. But I think for the next, 8 to 10 years, what we have right now is what we're going to have. But I think down the road, something is going to happen because, like I always say, Alabama doesn't play the same sport as Akron plays. They're in the same FBS, but there's nothing close to what those teams have nothing in common. Now, you can say that about college basketball, too. Is Kentucky playing the same sport as Mississippi Valley State or, some schools in those low majors? Not really, but every school has access, in theory, to the championship in college basketball, which they don't have in college football.
Talking to Mitch Light from The Athletic, college football editor. And so we're hitting him with some summer questions here. And, Mitch, I know you really you mentioned Ari Wasserman. You're doing a lot of work with him, and there's tons of recruiting news here recently. So let's just start with your reaction when Arch Manning committed last week to Texas.
Not surprised at all it was Texas. Was a little surprised by the timing. It was unfortunate for me. I just had made lunch, was taking a first bite in a sandwich, and then I saw on Twitter that he committed. And I pushed my food to the side and didn't eat for 6 hours. It was a crazy day, and he had pretty much narrowed it down to Texas, Georgia, and Alabama, and had gone on official visits. Alabama got a commitment from a guy named Eli Holstein, a top 50 national player from Louisiana, quarterback. So you would think, in theory, that kind of eliminated the Crimson Tide. So. There just seemed to be so much momentum for Texas. I formed such really good relationships over there, had been there so many times. So I wasn't surprised at all. And it's a huge day for Texas. You cannot, Ari wrote in a column, he's prone to hyperbole sometimes, but he called it the most impactful commitment in the history of the modern era of recruiting. And I looked the stat up. It's the first time, and we call the modern era of recruiting since 2002. That's kind of when Rivals first came out. It's the first time a number one overall prospect has committed to a school that had a losing record the year prior to its commitment, prior to that guy's commitment. So sure, it's University of Texas. We know about the history. We know about the potential. But he's jumping on a program that went 5-7 last year under a coach who still is trying to prove himself, even though it's his third Power 5 job, and a program that's been dysfunctional over the past decade plus. So I think it is a huge statement by Arch Manning and a huge day for Texas.
I always try to look ahead and say, okay, you're going to a good team that you think you can win. There's always going to be competition, especially at quarterback. So what does Texas and the quarterback position look like this year? They've got some high recruits that are sitting there, right?
Yeah. And one thing I do want to say there's a lot of factors why he'd choose Texas, but go back and look at Texas 2022 signing class. It was top 10, I think. But look at the offensive line. I think they signed 2 5-star offensive linemen, several other highly rated. So if you're going to be a quarterback taking a chance on the school, you want to see some young, elite offensive linemen, and that's what Texas has. So he is joining a program that already has Quinn Ewers. There's been 5 players in the modern era that have a perfect recruiting score, 1.000. Vince Young was one of them. Jadeveon Clowney was another. Now, Quinn Ewers had a perfect score up until the last second. Then I think he was 0.9999. So he was one of the most hyped recruits ever. Remember, he reclassified, went to Ohio State, transferred back. He is a sophomore this year, eligibility-wise, second-year eligibility-wise. So Arch Manning will be joining a team that has one of the highest-rated quarterbacks ever on the roster, who'll be a junior when he's a freshman. They still have Hudson Card, who was good enough to be the opening day starter last year. They got a kid named Malik Murphy, who at one point was a 5-star quarterback in the class of 2022. He's there. He's hurt now. So there is definitely going to be a lot of competition. But, Alabama signs, Eli Holstein's not a 5-star, but they sign top 50 quarterbacks every year. We know Georgia signs top 50 quarterbacks every year. So it's going to be interesting. I think if you're Texas, the ideal situation is that Quinn Ewers is as good as advertised this year, plays great, shows Arch, because, remember, he's not going to sign until December. Shows Arch that, hey, they're on the right progress, they're making progress. And then Quinn Ewers is the quarterback in 2023. Arch plays as the backup and then takes over for 2 years. So I would think that would be Texas's ideal plan. But as we know with quarterbacks and transfers and all that stuff, no ideal plans ever come to fruition.
How would you describe the domino effect of Arch Manning going to Texas?
Yeah, it was big, and that's why I think it was important for him to commit early. Like a lot of, we're seeing kids commit earlier more than ever because June official visits have become the big thing. Like it's not really, in the winter now. It's in June, so a lot of kids are committing, but it kind of shows that it's kind of he's validated not vindicated. He's validated what Texas is doing there. He's a kid, and Ari and I talk about this a lot on our podcast. He is one of the most hyped recruits of all time. He's one of the most talented kids in the country. Just the resources he has financially and with who his family is, he's not going to make an uninformed decision. He's been around. He's talked to so many people. His dad, his uncles, his grandfather, they're not going to let him go somewhere where it's not a good opportunity. I kind of thought about this earlier. I've got a neighbor who's really like tech savvy and likes cars. I don't know anything about cars. I let him do all the research, and then he tells me, like, if that car's good enough for my neighbor, it's good enough for me. Like, that's the way I look at it for, like, recruits. If it's good enough for Arch Manning, it should be good enough for you. I mean, obviously, these kids need to make their own decision. So there's been a flurry. They've had 8 commitments since Arch committed last Thursday. Now, the thing to look at, it's not just don't look at the numbers. There's been 3 top 500 guys out of that 8, which isn't great. I mean, you need to stack top 100 kids if you want to have a roster that's going to compete with the Alabamas and what Texas A&M is doing, the elite in the SEC. Now, they did get a 5-star kid out of Louisiana yesterday, a safety named Derek Williams, so that's big. So don't just you'll see headlines like 8 kids committing since Arch. See, that's nice, but what's the quality of those kids? They need. I'm sure Texas does its own evaluations and they like them, but you need to stockpile these top 100 kids. And, we'll see we'll see if that happens. But no doubt getting Arch was a huge boost for that down the road.
Mitch, appreciate the time as always. I hope it wasn't too bad for you having me on.
It was okay. I'll leave it at that.
All right. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Mitch Light from The Athletic joining us as we talk a little college football. I do want to dive into the division thing a little bit because I have been pretty passionate about this for a while and would love to get your guys' thoughts as you listen to the DDC on 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. But first, Willie, you're going to tell us about QC Kinetics.
All right, QC Kinetics, they want to keep people moving. They know that you love to do your thing, whatever that might be, hiking, biking, golf, pickup basketball, all of the above. But if you got joint pain, it can really bring you down, and it can limit your activity. And maybe you've hit a dead end because, you're really not looking forward to pain meds or steroids or even surgery. Those things maybe not appealing. Here's something you may not have considered: the natural biologics, the regenerative medicine that QC Kinetics provides. It's on the cutting edge. This is an advanced, exciting, natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. It's 2022. This is the new way. Regenerative medicine can restore and repair damaged joint tissue using those natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. If that's appealing to you, check it out because this is a free medical consultation that's right here in our listening area. They can address any pain in any joint and improve that quality of life to get you back out there. So call those local medical professionals at QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Matich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Willie Daunic here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon, you wish would never end.
The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
Some things sound so good you can almost taste it. Like Bluebell strawberry lemonade ice cream. Delicious strawberry ice cream swirled with lemonade sherbet and sprinkled with lemon-flavored flakes. It's better than you can imagine.
The good old days are being made right now.
The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell ice cream at Al's Foodland in Lebanon and Compton's Foodland.
I love this show.
Never miss a moment of the show.
Okay, all right, okay.
Subscribe to the DDC podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever. You're listening to the DDC.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Listen for the casino sounder today through Friday, and when you hear it, you will text BALLY, B-A-L-L-Y, to 615-737-1025 and be qualified to play the grand prize roulette wheel. All qualifiers will receive a number on the wheel, and the winner will be revealed during the noon hour with the DDC. The winner will then have 10 minutes and 25 seconds to call in to win the grand prize, so you must be listening. A summertime casino getaway to Bally's in Evansville. You must be 21 to enter. Official rules and more information at thegamenashville.com/Bally. Welcome back in to the DDC, presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, a York-certified comfort expert company. Schedule now at springhillac.com. Chase McCabe, Willie Daunic, Derek Mason with you, D-Mac with the week off, the rest of the week. So, the scheduling in college football. Divisions. I'm so glad divisions are going away. And, you know, as Mitch pointed out, it was the conference games, conference championship games. That's why they did this. But it ended some rivalries. It created new ones. A lot of things happened, but I'm glad to see them go away. Now the question is, how will the SEC handle it? And do we think we have an announcement before SEC Media Days, which is in about a month or 3 weeks, really, is when SEC Media Days will take place in Atlanta this year? I, for one, think we will. I think that is on the horizon. The ACC, the latest to do it, joining the Pac-12. And I like the scheduling formats that they've come up with. But as we talked about with Mitch, the SEC's is going to be a little more difficult.
Yeah, I think, you know, for the ACC, they're able to do it. You know, for the SEC and the Big Ten, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I think you're going to get a little bit more pushback from, you know, each individual team in each conference, division, whether it be the Big Ten West or Big Ten, was it East and West? And it's the SEC North and South, one of the two. However they break,
East and West,
yeah, East and West. However they break them up, I think you're going to get some pushback from both, because to me, the way you sort of fix the problem in the Big Ten is you still keep divisions, but you break them up. You know, there's no way that Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State should be in the same division. They
I
shouldn't
agree.
be.
No.
Yeah, they should have broken those divisions up. The ACC, I don't know if theirs might be. Yeah, I think the ACC's pretty much got theirs the way they want it, but to me, it's the Big Ten. There's no way, and you can still keep the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, Michigan-Michigan State rivalry, but don't put them both in. Don't put all four of them in the same division.
Well, okay. So look at this from your perspective. You're Michigan State, and I tell you, you're going to get 3 protects. You're going to get 3 rivals that you can play every year.
Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan.
Done.
Yeah,
that's it. And it's the same for those other teams. You know, you're gonna if you're Michigan, you're gonna play Michigan State. You're gonna play Ohio State. You're gonna play Penn State, and that's what you do with it. But for the SEC, I mean, it's you know, if you're Vanderbilt, Willie, you're keeping Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Kentucky. Is that how you would do it?
Look, you're going to get a bad answer from me. First of all, I don't like that the conferences are so high, so large that you have this big dilemma, especially in football. But to me, the rivalries are important, but competitive balance is more important for me. I mean, you have to have Ohio State and Michigan, but if you're really being true to a competitive balanced league, you should rotate your opponents. And it's not right. That's why an 8 to 9 team league is the way to go, or maybe 10. But
Willie,
man,
I don't know
we
how
get
to
into
tell
that
you
14,
this, but
16,
yeah, it ain't going that route.
That ship has sailed, my friend.
These days are over. But you have to sacrifice something. If you're going to bring all these teams in, the schedule doesn't make any sense. I used to remember when Les Miles and I guess it would have been Urban Meyer at the time, but Florida and LSU were sitting there going, look, why is it fair? We got to play each other every year when Vanderbilt plays Ole Miss every year. It's not true. It's not right for competitive balance. So I don't.
Okay, but
I don't like that.
You don't like what the ACC is doing.
But D-Mace, you just said it. Okay, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State every year. That's a really tough schedule. If those are your 3,
it's a gauntlet to
other
run
teams
through.
and other teams in your league get to play Northwestern, Iowa, and pick another one, Indiana.
Yeah, but you would still play those. You would have your 3 protected rivalries, and then you would rotate through. If you play 9 conference games, you would rotate through 6 more, and they would just rotate every year. So I mean, you're still getting a mix of that.
But there will be a big imbalance. Several years. I mean, every year there will be somebody that gets a much easier schedule than somebody else.
You're saying if they,
that's how it is in the NFL.
You're saying if the Big Ten with more than 10 teams and the SEC go the route of the ACC, where they're doing a 3-5-5, but you do have your 3 mainstays every year. These are the teams you're going to play, but then we're going to rotate them. So you say you would rather. You don't want it that way with the Big Ten and the SEC.
No, I don't. I just think if you're trying to have competitive balance, and you take for granted, which I do, that Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan more years than not are going to be powerful teams. Traditionally, it's been proven over the last couple of generations they're going to be pretty good. If you got to play those 3 teams every year, you're at a disadvantage.
Well, over the last decade and a half, these have been the dominant teams in the Big Ten. Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, Wisconsin, and Iowa, I believe.
But
they're
there's
in
a
different.
they're exactly. So think about where Michigan. I'm sorry. Think about where Wisconsin and Iowa. Let's just pick those 2.
Yeah, they don't have to go through the gauntlet that Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, and
how many
and Penn
times
State
have they played in the
Yeah.
Big Ten championship game just because they're in that division?
Exactly, and that's why I said they should, instead of having no divisions, they should just reclassify the divisions.
Right. So if you're going to do it, then rotate equally. Let's not worry about. And I understand that. I think a lot of people would just. They wouldn't think college football could exist if Michigan didn't play Ohio State every year. So I understand you got to try to work the tradition in there. But if you're really being true and having a competitive league and being fair to everybody, you should rotate.
So you're saying no protected rivalries at all? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Ideally, that's how you should do it.
Okay, so I'm going to take that.
And that's the price you pay. That's the price you pay. You want all these teams in there? That's the price you pay.
Okay, all right. But let's just agree to disagree on this. Let's agree that that ship has sailed. You're going to have 16 teams, whatever it is now. Like, you're going to have all these teams in there. So on your premise of you don't protect a rivalry, I want to know how Tennessee fans feel about that. Because you've had the Alabama side that has said that Tennessee-Alabama is not really a rivalry anymore, which it isn't.
Hasn't.
I mean, it's been one-sided.
Yeah.
So if you're Tennessee, and then Tennessee's kind of felt that way about Vanderbilt, if you're a Tennessee fan, do you want the 3 protected rivalries? Do you want the 1, or do you want none and do what Willie says and rotate through? 615-737-1025. You can call or text on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, as you listen to the DDC, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
They're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
there's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
I go back to that play and I shake my head. What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan. I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is we've been getting more and more new vehicles in stock every day. The bad news is they go out as quick as they come in. So be sure to reach out and let us know what you're looking for. And as soon as it comes in, we can call you. We can even order a new vehicle to your exact wants and needs. Don't worry, we have more good news. We have a great way for you to get some extra cash for all your summer adventures. We're buying any and all used cars. We're offering top dollar for your vehicle. Reach out. We can start with an online video appraisal. Even more good news. With Newton Fast Pass, you can buy a car without ever leaving the pool. Really? You can buy your car from anywhere. Wherever you are, you can buy online. And on top of that, we'll deliver the car to you. Build your car or buy your car online in Newton today. Visit newtonnissan.com to learn more.
Hey folks, Joe Rexroad here, inviting you to step up to the tee and take a swing at betting the PGA Tour on FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet the Tour with a no-sweat first bet. You get up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. Lots of ways you could go here. I wouldn't overthink this. I'd be looking at guys like Scotty Scheffler, Cameron Smith, Sam Burns, Rory McIlroy. These are the folks who are really flourishing this year on the Tour. And, of course, on FanDuel Sportsbook, you got great promotions every day. It's safe and secure. It's easy. You get paid fast. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up using promo code Joe102 to get started with your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. FanDuel Sportsbook, official betting operator of the PGA Tour. Again, promo code Joe102. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Zines First is the official sign company for 102.5 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Hey, where'd you get that synthesizer?
I just bought it. Since we're saving so much with no mortgage down payment and no PMI with Navy Federal Credit Union, I figured I'd put some of that extra money to good use. Oh, and I'm starting a band with some platoon mates.
Great.
Learn how you can save $2,500 on average with a Navy Federal mortgage at NavyFederal.org. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Listen to Stillman & Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series at First Horizon Park against the Indianapolis Indians. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Coverage begins at 6:50.
On your home for Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, it's ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
IndyCar is back. Single-day tickets for the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, August 5th through the 7th, are on sale now. Enjoy racing, live music, and one big party. Visit MusicCityGP.com to buy your tickets today. Welcome back into the DDC here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game and The Game Nashville app. Chase McCabe, Willie Daunic, Derek Mason, talking some college football and divisions in college football. And I asked the question to Tennessee fans specifically because your team had a decent year. You got Josh Heupel now. I think people are expecting with the quarterback that they're bringing in that they're going to be even better moving forward. So how do you look at this from a scheduling standpoint if you're a Tennessee fan? Do you want to keep 3 rivals on your schedule, which if that's the case, it would be Alabama, Vanderbilt, Kentucky for me? Or do you agree with Willie and think because of a competitive balance that everybody's schedule should just rotate every year? I'm going to tell you right now, Willie, that I understand where you're at on that, but it's never going to happen.
No, of course it's never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
I understand that. They try to play everything. They try to, they try to have everything, and you can't. And that's why they shouldn't have ever taken Oklahoma and Texas. It screws stuff up even more than it is now. But to me, there's got to be a little yin and yang. If you want these extra teams, then if you really want to have a competitive league and be fair to everybody, it should rotate.
Would you settle for taking one rival? So Alabama, Auburn, the Iron Bowl remains intact. Because see that right there,
Alabama, Tennessee's gone.
Tennessee, Florida.
Again, I'm playing your, and that's the other thing. I said for Tennessee, I didn't even leave Florida in there, so Florida's got to be in there. So take Kentucky out. But
you're automatic when you build the league. Automatically, you lose some great rivalries. You can't keep them all.
Sure, and I mean,
Georgia
I think
Auburn is a great rivalry. All of these, you're going to lose more every time you add to the league.
Yeah, you will, but I think if you're doing this with it's harder to do it in the SEC and it's harder to do it in the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten should organize their, the East and the West. I just think it's too East heavy because Chase and I looked up during the break. The East has won at least 70% of the championships within the last 10, 15 years. With the exception of maybe 3 or 4. So to me, that needs to be reclassified. You need to switch those teams up because it's too dominant. It's too East dominant in the Big Ten. Now, if you look at the SEC, it's a little bit different. Now we know Alabama, whether they're in the East or the West, it's more than likely they're going to be the number 1 team. But they're in the West, Georgia's in the East. So you arguably have the 2 top teams in that conference away from each other so they could potentially meet up in the SEC championship game. But I think you should keep at least, if you want to format it the way the ACC is doing it, you got to keep at least 2 of the rivals. You have to.
Yeah, and the other part of this too is I get the conundrum that they're in of protecting rivalries and making a competitive balance and all of that. But the end result, in my mind, needs to be that the SEC championship game is basically a playoff game. And it's the 2 best teams in the league that are facing off. Because we were talking about this with the Big Ten. I mean, how how lopsided is the Big Ten championship game every year?
Always lopsided.
Yeah, because you have Ohio State and Michigan State and Penn State all on one side, and so one of them is coming out of it, and one of them is going to win it. It likely is going to happen. It's kind of been the same way with the SEC, that you've had the West so dominant that the East. Now, you obviously this year was a little different. You had Georgia that did their thing, but you have, but Alabama still is there, and ultimately it leads to a national championship game between Georgia and Alabama. But I just want to see the 2 best teams meet in the conference championship, And I think getting rid of divisions is the way to do that.
Even in the SEC?
Even in the SEC.
Because
you're likely going to get outside of Georgia right now. I'm talking about right now. Like this could look.
But Georgia is the best team.
They are the best
in
team.
the East, and they probably would be the best team or second best team in the whole conference.
I agree.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this right now. It could look different 2 years from now, especially when Texas and Oklahoma get in there. If they are what we think they're going to be, but likely with the way things are set up right now, outside of Georgia, you could end up with Alabama, Georgia again, or you could end up with two West teams.
Hey, listen,
Texas A&M.
Jimbo says different. Bro Bible.
But do the part that you're not talking about, Chase. When you say the two best teams, what if my record is 8-1, and your record is 8-1, but I've played the three toughest teams in the league, and you played the three lowest teams in the league. That's what could happen a lot in given years. And I understand that could happen no matter what. But at least if you have a system that rotates with some regularity, then I got nothing to complain about. But if every year I've got to play Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, for example, as my rivals, who your rivals are, is going to make a huge amount of difference in a league that's already tough to win. Now you're adding Oklahoma and Texas, and you're going to say on top of that, I'm going to have a competitive disadvantage just because of who my rivals are. Good luck.
But I don't think that, if you ask Alabama fans, just because they got to play LSU, who's a rival, or Tennessee, who's a rival, in Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, and Auburn. I don't think Alabama fans will be like, no, we don't want those rivals anymore, just because they're hard, just because they're really, really good. I think Alabama fans will say, okay, so what? We've been playing them. We're going to continue to play them, So they're not going to be as bent out of shape maybe as another team that a Vanderbilt or, I don't know, a Texas A&M who has to play their rivals in there pretty hard, because Alabama feels that regardless of who we play, or Georgia feels regardless who we play, who our rivals are, we're going to be one of the top teams, regardless.
Right.
That's how their fan base feel. Now, you might have some other fan bases that teams that are mediocre, they might be mad because Alabama's on the schedule or Georgia's on the schedule every year. But Georgia and Alabama fans ain't going to complain because they haven't complained thus far.
Right.
The other thing I think the league is counting on, the SEC, is at some point the playoff system's going to go to 12, and there will be some at-large opportunities for the SEC by strength of schedule. But it'll be interesting. Let's say you're sitting there at 9-3, and you finish, I don't know, 4th in the SEC or 5th. But your schedule might be brutal in a particular year. You'd say, hey, we're 9-3, but we beat 3 top 10 teams. We lost to 3 teams. Maybe we had one upset, but we had, we lost to 2 other juggernauts. I mean, they're going to bank on a 12-team playoff. A 9-3 SEC team could get in to that playoff,
and they might be right based on the strength of schedule. And the committee might look at it as, okay, your strength of schedule, even though you were 9-3, your strength of schedule was much better than a 10-2 team that didn't even win their conference.
I think, too, this is another thing that we can debate, is will the league champion have an automatic bid in a 12-team league?
You have
just to make sure that some of those
so.
other conferences are taken care of there. I think you got to have that.
Yeah, you would have to. That would be defeating the purpose if you don't have an automatic bid for your conference champion. Are you talking regular season conference champion or
no, the game, the championship?
However you determine your league champion.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the whole regular season conference champion thing to me is irrelevant. Like, if you're going to have a championship game, I mean, that's the one.
Well, it's not. I guess it's not irrelevant if you are 12-0.
Yeah.
And, both teams come in undefeated and playing the championship game, and then the loser says, well, no, I should still have a right to be in a playoff, i.e. Alabama.
The question is going to be, does it go to a 12-team playoff, or is there, is it 8 teams, but the conferences have like a playoff that basically you have one extra round leading into the championship game? Because I know that's been batted about of doing that.
And the SEC is not on board with that.
Yeah, I didn't think that, Saban's probably not on board with
little
that.
Nicky's not on board with that, man.
I don't know how Jimbo feels about it, but,
Bro Bible.
There it is.
Ball games are changing, man.
They are. Thank you, Jimbo. You're listening to the DDC here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Chris Mason coming up at 1 o'clock. We'll check in with him, talk some Preds with the former goalie and broadcaster as you listen to the DDC on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Get used to it.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stomach Company is delivered. There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
Scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Mostly sunny and hazy this afternoon with an air quality alert out for ground level ozone. High temperature 94, heat index upper 90s.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Ever wonder what toys do when people aren't around? With the Nashville Symphony performing the score live, Disney Pixar's Toy Story answers that question with a fantastic, fun-filled journey, viewed mostly through the eyes of 2 rival toys. Woody, the lanky, likable cowboy, and Buzz Lightyear, the fearless Space Ranger. Toy Story in concert with the Nashville Symphony, July 8th through the 10th, including a Sunday matinee performance. Presented by Disney Concerts. Get your tickets now at NashvilleSymphony.org.
QC Kinetics patient Robert Patterson, a veteran and business owner, struggled at work and in the gym with chronic, agonizing shoulder pain.
Those injuries just continue to nag, and if you don't treat them, they just get worse. And I just kind of abused my body for a long time, and it finally had said enough is enough.
That's okay, because QC Kinetics tells your pain, hey, enough is enough. Their regenerative treatments bring you relief by helping restore and repair damaged tissue with no drugs, no downtime, and best of all, no surgery.
I was able to exceed the goals that I had previously attained in the gym. It was absolutely worth its weight in gold, so I could continue to live life without limitation.
Ready to get lasting relief from your joint pain? Call QC Kinetics to learn more about how natural biologic treatments can get you lasting results. Call now. It's a free consultation.
615-249-4024. QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024.
Jump into the thrill at Bally's Evansville Casino. Play to win with lots of slots and live and electronic cable games. Visit the High Limit Room for an elevated experience. Take a break with a cold tap house brew or a snack at the deli. For more elegant dining, check out the flavors, river views, and music at Kavanaugh's. Enjoy a relaxing stay at the Bally's Hotel or the luxurious Legends Tower. Plan your casino getaway at Bally'sEvansville.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
It's watching the top players take the ice. It's hard-fought games that end in victory. It's showing your favorite team to your favorite people. Secure your seats for the 2022-23 Nashville Predators season today to ensure you never miss a game at Bridgestone Arena. Plus, enjoy Nashville locker room discounts, exclusive presale offers, and more. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. Join the Loyal Legion today and paint the town Preds. That's NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to the DDC.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Make sure you join 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and Newton Motor Group this summer to help kids in Middle Tennessee as we team up with Souls for Souls to provide shoes to children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area. With school coming back, our goal is to raise $20,000, which will provide 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids. But we can't do it without you. So please help however you can by going to theGameNashville.com/shoes. All donations will go directly to Souls for Souls to give shoes to children in Middle Tennessee experiencing homelessness. Let's do some good this summer, and thank you for your help. Go to theGameNashville.com/shoes. Newton Motor Group is a proud sponsor of Souls for Music City. Newton Motor Group, the best car deals in Nashville. Start at Newton. Welcome back to the DDC. Chase McCabe, Derek Mason, and Willie Daunic here with you as we're discussing a variety of different things today. You can weigh in on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. But, Willie, you sent this to the group earlier today. Brian Baldinger on the NFL Network, who does a great job of breaking down different things. He had an interesting comment on Titans rookie quarterback Malik Willis and what the Titans might do with him.
You know, David, the guy I'm really interested in watching is Malik Willis in Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
He's the 86th pick in the draft. A lot of people thought that he was underdrafted. And I'm just looking at the Tennessee team. Todd Downey is the offensive coordinator. No A.J. Brown, no Julio Jones. Tight ends are gone. Yeah, there's Derrick Henry. They like to move the ball on the ground. One of 3 teams in the league last year that ran it more than they threw it. And so, to me, Malik Willis, I don't think he's going to challenge Ryan Tannehill in training camp this year. But I do believe there should be a package for Malik Willis, using his considerable skills to be able to run the ball. And not just a runner. He's got the big arm. He's got the cannon. Like, have a package for Malik Willis where he can get on the field, make the defense defend him, make him defend all 11. And another way that you can use him in the offense, get him on the field, get him some reps, and still help move the ball down the field for the Titans. I would expect the Titans to have a package like that, and I'm anxious to see if it comes to fruition.
There you go, Brian Baldinger on the NFL Network. So, Derek, you played in an era where you didn't see that. The backup quarterback was the backup quarterback. I mean, when Steve McNair first came into the league, they didn't have packages really for him. I feel like this is kind of a new thing that offensive coordinators have done, especially because that position has evolved so much. And when you have an athletic quarterback. But what would you think about that if the Titans were to design some packages for Malik Willis?
They would do it, obviously. You know, they're trying to win ball games. So every advantage you can get, anytime you can keep a defense off balance, you do it. You know, in 2019, when Ryan Tannehill took over, I don't know if they had too many packages for Marcus Mariota after Ryan took over, after game 4 or 5, somewhere around there. I don't think they had too many packages for Marcus Mariota.
But they did have a couple.
Yeah, they had a couple, but I don't think
it was until the next year.
Exactly.
Am I remembering this right? The following year, was he still the backup? I'm trying to think.
No.
I think it was by the end of the year. When they went to the playoffs, they did keep a couple little things.
Little
wrinkles.
You
saw Mariota come in there.
And I could see the playoffs because you're trying to, keep teams off balance. But you know what? I don't know, because it's not like Ryan Tannehill is not a mobile guy. He gives you – he's probably one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the National Football League. So he gives you everything that, that a Malik Willis would give you from an athletic standpoint. I understand that NFL teams are doing it. we saw, most notable, we saw New Orleans do it with their quarterback, Taysom Hill. We saw them do it with him.
And Taysom Hill.
Yeah, and
he was kind of the what started a lot of this.
Yeah, I mean,
I
Cordell
saw the
Stewart
Ravens
was
do it.
really the guy that started it all.
True.
Back in the day, Cordell was. But then Taysom Hill was a guy that really sort of brought it back to what teams do. I'm not in agreement or disagreement with it. To me, it can't just be, okay, your package consists of running the football.
Yeah.
Or it has to be true packages where he's developing as a quarterback, not as an athlete, but as a quarterback. He's developing. And you do give him the ability to run the football if needed. Don't just put him in there for some, run gimmick. Teams have figured that out pretty quickly. Put him in there and do some things from a passing standpoint too. So it's not like I'm in a disagreement with it, but I just feel, man, Ryan gives you everything that that Willis will give you anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he's mobile, but
Yeah.
how much of it too is how the option has developed in NFL offenses? I mean, the read option and everything was a very college based system, and now it's moved into the NFL. You see Lamar and all these quarterbacks that are running it now. So how much of it has to do with that?
I think I think it does have something to do with that, but to me, it's how do we generate offense in a different way? Because if you look at offenses in the NFL, they're called different things. The plays are called different, but they're all the same plays. How do we generate offense by incorporating something else? I guarantee you, if you put Ryan Tannehill and Willis on, say, a basketball court, Ryan Tannehill will probably be just as athletic as Willis would be, or vice. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like Ryan Tannehill is Tom Brady as far as athleticism.
Joe Flacco,
exactly,
or Drew Brees.
No. Joe Flacco was a very athletic player. He was early on in his career.
But D-Mace, I'm thinking when Lamar Jackson came in, they tried some of that. They would put Jackson in.
But Willis is not Jackson. Willis is not near the athlete as Jackson is. No way, no how.
Well, I haven't seen Willis play that much, so I don't know. I'm just looking at a guy that ran a spread, ran something different, could give you a different look. But Flacco was towards the end of his career, and Jackson offered something different. You're right. There's not as much of a contrast between Tannehill and Willis. But I'm thinking Taysom Hill, there was a big contrast when he would go in there for Drew Brees, offered a different dimension. So that's the thing. I just think anytime you could have a layer and it doesn't screw you up, I guess I would wonder what would Ryan Tannehill think of that, right? Is it if Willis is going to come in for a few plays each game, or it depends on the situation.
You know what my answer to that is?
I think Ryan would be okay with it.
You know what my answer to that is?
At all, or does that keep him at his best? Is that best for the team?
And I'm not poo-pooing that because that's a valid question, but my answer is for Mike Vrabel, the answer to every question has to be, does it make the team better?
Exactly. So I think Ryan, from the outside, he would be okay with it. Now, I don't know what he would think about it behind closed doors or when he goes home to his family.
Be pissed off about it and then do something about it.
But if you're talking about on the outside where we all can see, I think Ryan would be like, okay, yeah, it helps us win, so let's do it.
If he had been a better quarterback last year and not thrown 3 picks in the playoff game, they probably don't take Malik Willis.
Well, that's not what it's about. What I'm saying is, does this make your offense better? Because, the old adage, if you try to play 2 quarterbacks, you have none, all of that. I'm saying, can this be something that can be worked in seamlessly so it does make your offense better? I'm not worried about messing with anybody's ego or anything. Teams have tried this. And, for example, the Saints, they felt pretty good about it. They had a Hall of Famer, Drew Brees, and he was stepping aside for plays because Taysom Hill could go in there.
Well, Drew knew he was the guy but Drew knew he was the guy. Like, there was no doubt in Drew's mind that, listen, the only way they're replacing me is if I retire.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, Willie, I'm not saying if they do indeed put a package in for Malik that, that it will not be beneficial. I think it'll be beneficial. To me, what helps them win? What gives them an extra layer of help to allow them to score a touchdown? And if Malik Willis running a few plays, so be it. I don't think it'd hurt,
And he would have to be the backup, or you would be carrying 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's another thing to consider is he ready to be the backup if Tannehill gets hurt, and then he's running the full offense. Because Taysom Hill was a wide receiver. He was in the game in other places. Cordell Stewart was as well. That was the beauty of that setup.
Mm-hmm.
But there are those that think Malik Willis will be the 3rd quarterback this year as he learns the craft and learns the complete package. And in the meantime, Logan Woodside would be your game day 2nd guy.
No, you're right.
I think it's an interesting topic that's not going to go away. Until we get to training camp, because here's the thing. In the preseason, you're not going to see it because Malik Willis is going to play a lot in the preseason.
And the Titans are not going to give away.
No, they're not going to give away. But September 11th when they play the Giants,
there might be something in there.
I think you will see it.
Yeah.
I think you will see it.
So there are 3 quarterbacks active on opening day. Or Willis is the backup.
I think there'll be 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Now 3, unless Malik just blows it away.
Well, with the Saints, they had Drew Brees, Teddy Bridgewater, and Taysom Hill.
Exactly. So they can carry.
But Taysom Hill was playing wide receiver.
He was their backup quarterback.
That is also
emergency
true.
quarterback.
That is also true. We will continue this, but coming up next, Chris Mason is going to join us. We'll talk Philip Forsberg and some other Predators topics with him as you listen to the DDC 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom. Base hit, Soundswind.
We talk The Game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. And if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters, so make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 5 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, zero interest financing on practically everything in our showcases. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. How about a stunning $12,000 designer ring, complete with a GIA diamond for just $200 a month? It's the smartest, easiest, and best way to buy. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
We here at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game are looking for our next great executive producer. Hey, it's Chase McCabe, the program director. If you think that's you and you think that you have the experience, the drive, and of course you share that love of sports, send your resume and cover letter to together@cromwellmedia.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
The leading receiver. Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Informative conversation while you work. This is the DDC. Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
quick pass down the middle, breaking in, and a backhand stop by Chris Mason. And Marlowe with a 2-on-1, a 3-on-1, and what a stop by Mason. Cheechoo right in front, and what a stop on Ekman by Mason.
And goal, number 3, Chris Mason.
Ah, yes. We are ready. Back here on the DDC. 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Willie Daunic, Derek Mason, and Chris Mason is on with us. I've missed that. I haven't heard that in a while. C-Mace, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I just totally got Elijah. The first time he called me, I just said, hi, you've reached the offices of Chris Mason. I'm unavailable at this current time. Please call back or please leave a message over. And he hung up on me just as I was about to. I said, just kidding.
I haven't been bamboozled by the fake voicemail greeting since high school. It's been since high school since I've fallen.
Oh, that's good. My voicemail, in high school and college, my voicemail was, hey, what's up? And then they start talking and you hear me go, all right, well, I'm not here right now, so leave me a message. Anyway, so Chris, we didn't have you on to talk voicemails, even though that was really funny. So well done by you. But we're about a week and a half, 2 weeks away from free agency opening up, and Philip Forsberg has not signed a deal. There's been reports that, his camp is willing to go the low 8s on an 8-year deal. Obviously, I would think some trade protection is thrown in there too, but both sides have said they want to be together. It's a negotiation. David Poyle said last week that they're approaching a deadline, so something's going to have to give, and usually that happens when you approach a deadline. But what's kind of been your thoughts since the season ended and we've gotten into the offseason and there's still no deal with Philip Forsberg?
Well, I mean, my thought is it's still going to get done, and this is a typical negotiation, although, in an ideal world, everybody would like to have it wrapped up and done, but both sides, for the Predators in particular, I think they feel really strong about having that extra year that they can offer Forsberg, which nobody else can. Obviously, the max will be 7 if he went to free agency. He likes it here. He wants to be here. They like him. It's a really good fit. He's coming off just an incredible year. So I really feel it's all part of the process, as painful as it is. I really do think it's going to be done. I think if Forsberg is saying that number, I think that's definitely a fair number for, the production that he had and what he brings to the table. But, you get down to this point and I guess the gap closes and keeps getting tighter. But it's one of those things that I think, it may benefit, management the longer it goes. And at the end of the day, Phil's going to have to make a decision. Does he want to be here, or does he want to go try and test free agency and try to go through that whole process? And I know from being through this, obviously not, the numbers or term that Phil is talking about here, but it's not always greener on the other side. And but at the same time, as a player, you want to get your value. He's had a great career still. A young player. He's in the prime of his career, so I understand he wants to maximize his value because, at the end of the day, this is, one shot at this, that big contract that he's earned. So I still think it's going to be done, but this is the, I guess, the standoff, if you will. These two guys, just Forsberg and the organization, throwing their cards on the table and then just waiting down to the last minute so each side can get the best deal possible. It's just the way it goes.
Negotiations like this, typically don't come into the locker room, and obviously the players are scattered about right now during the offseason. But from somebody that has been on a team that knows that, there's one of your big-time players is going through this, how much uncertainty kind of hangs over the team as a whole, on top of the fact that that there are going to be some guys that aren't back and that your team's going to look different because that's what happens every year?
Well, I think at the end you said it is different every year, and that's part of being in professional sports, and it is part of the business. And I know everybody is going to want to have Phil back, and that's ideally what the best case scenario for everybody. And but at the end of the day, everyone's got their job, so it doesn't come into the locker room. Obviously, everybody's aware of what's going on and probably keeping tabs on it now, especially in the off season. getting closer to that deadline, just starting to look forward to next season and all that stuff, because if they don't sign Phil, they're going to have to replace him. So there's, free agents out there that, are pretty attractive and could be a good fit. So you start kind of looking at that. But I think, first and foremost, the guys obviously want to have Forsberg signed back. It's just everybody's got their own thing going on and their own negotiations to worry about. It's not something that really comes into the locker room a lot.
Now, see, Mace, you've been around this team forever, and you've seen them when they were at their peaks and obviously when they were not. And then you've seen sort of this competitive transition as Poyle coined it. How far do you believe? And I'm not, and this has nothing to do with Philip Forsberg, but how far away do you think this team is from truly competing for a Stanley Cup, not making it to the playoffs, because they've done that, even with a team that many thought wasn't going to make it to the playoffs. They did it this year. But how far do you think they are from truly competing for a Stanley Cup?
I think they're a ways away. I really do. I think, there's some flexibility of what they can add, I think, in the offseason. And that will probably be the biggest indicator, I think. Obviously, getting Forsberg would be a big step, in kind of solidifying your core guys and your star players. But I really think if they want to, be in that cup contention conversation, they definitely need another big top six guy. They need another top four defenseman, and that's they don't come cheap. So you're going to have to get out the pocketbook and write some checks in the off season and try to sign some guys. And I think if they address some of those areas that I think would put them in entering the conversation, I think we'd have a more realistic kind of assessment of where this team is in terms of actually competing for a Stanley Cup. But I really do think they need another, this is with Forsberg signed, I think they need another top six guy that's a proven guy that can put the puck in the net and give some support up on the top two lines, and they need another top four defenseman if they, realistically want to compete. We saw what, Colorado did to everybody this year. They didn't just run through the Preds. They basically ran through everybody, and Tampa gave them a good push, but they pretty much dominated the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions, and the Preds are definitely not in that category right now. So they've got a lot of roster work, I would say, and then hopefully the young players they have continue to develop, and that's another huge part of if they're going to be in that conversation as well. But they've got a ways to go, I think, but not too far off, depending on the moves they make this summer and some of the pieces they add.
Now, if the speculations are true, as far as what Philip Forsberg is, the ballpark he's asking for, the mid eights, low eights, whatever the case may be, if indeed they don't get this deal done, how much blowback do you think this team, mainly Poyle, will get? Because if it's right at 8 or 8.5, let's say that, then you're going to hear many Pred fans say, well, why didn't you get this deal done, during the season, if indeed it was mid to low 8s?
Yeah. In the league, he's definitely in that category. But again, if that doesn't materialize, which I think it will, and I've got no inside information on that, but I think that, it just makes sense. A lot will have to do with who they add and who they replace him with, I think. But, if that's the number, and I don't know, that's kind of what's out there right now, that low 8 range. I mean, that's a fair number. And again, we don't know if there's any, movement clauses and those types of things, as Chase mentioned earlier, some of those details. And, they're trying to get the best deal possible, so they can give them more flexibility to maybe add another piece or two and still be under the cap, because they do have that luxury, which a lot of teams don't. So I definitely think, though, if they don't get it done, they're going to hear about it for sure. It's just natural, but they're going to have to. There's some other players out there too that are available, and just have to see how it shakes out.
Catching up with Chris Mason, talking Nashville Predators, NHL, and Mace. One of the things you pinpointed going into the series between the Predators and the Avalanche in the first round of the playoffs is, the question mark might have been toughness, and goaltending. I thought it was interesting. They won the whole thing. They lost only 4 games the entire trip, 16-4. They even had injuries to Darcy Kemper, and they never really did show that they had a guy that was going to get under your skin and be one of those, tough playoff guys. And still they were that good. It must be nice to be so good that you can have just, solid goaltending, not spectacular, and still win and go 16-4.
It really was. It was incredible what they did, and it just shows you how good that team is. And you always hear the cliche, let your star players be the star players. Well, they're full of star players, and I mean, Cale Makar was just out of this world. Nathan McKinnon, Devin Taves is awesome. Up and down that lineup, the depth guys, Kadri when he was in, I think they just had the best overall team. And when you can play at the level and have the ability to hold on to the puck and play at that level of speed, it's tough. Toughness will only get you so far. You have to be able to take the game in that direction. And, we saw in the Pred series, they weren't able to do that. Some of the other teams that tried to do that weren't able to do that. They just skate so well. They get the puck and they move it up the ice. It's tough. You can't chase this team around and try to hit them all over the place because then they'll just run you into the ground, which they did when teams started to do that. But they had enough of their players that, can handle the load physically. Makar can hang physically. They have some, bigger defensemen that can kind of Eric Johnson and, their star players. McKinnon's a gritty player. Ratman, Landeskog's, tough as nails. Kadri. They had those guys that could, if the game got in that manner in the playoffs, which this playoffs, I'll tell you, I've never seen scoring like this. It was just absolutely crazy what went on, especially in that first round, but kind of continued throughout the playoffs too. And, that team is just built for it. The depths of that was one of the best teams I think I've ever seen, and maybe one of the most dominant playoff performances by a team in a long, long time. And, the game, I guess, in playoffs, you do need that level of physicality because depending on your opponent, that's going to serve you well. But, there was just no answer for the Avalanche this season. No one had an answer for them.
I do think it was one of the best teams of the salary cap era for sure. Before we let you go, Mace, tell people what's going on this weekend, and I wish I could join you. I'm down here in Birmingham. We got the travel ball circuit going on for young Mahoney Daunic here at the perfect game. But there's some pickleball going on this weekend you're going to be involved with.
Yes, and this is going to be a blast. It's called the Great American Music City Pickleball Fest, and that's on the 2nd and 3rd, which is Saturday and Sunday. And it's just trying to create awareness and just try to grow this sport even more. And we got some clinics going on. I think it goes from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. And there's going to be some indoor pro courts, which celebrities will be paired up with pros, and they're going to have games, they'll have clinics, and there's a beer garden there, and there's a bunch of activities going on. So if anybody wants to come down to Centennial Sportsplex and watch me dust off the paddle, I got to get back. I've been playing a little bit more. Here the last couple of weeks, get ready for this. So it should be a blast. And Will, you know how much we love it. We got to start bringing our paddles on the road again.
Yeah, we got to make a comeback. The pickleball injury set me back a little bit, but I really wish I could be a part of this. And they are going to keep growing this. They are trying to build the entire pickleball community here. It's already pretty big, but it's kind of unify everybody. So I hope people get a chance to go out there this weekend.
Yeah, it's fun. And, it's a sport, honestly, that anybody could play, right? Young, old. It doesn't matter if you've ever picked up a paddle. It's one of those ones that everybody can play and enjoy. And everybody that Willie comes on a road trip, we'd always get to play. The next thing they do is they're buying pickleball paddles for the whole family, and everybody plays. It's just such a fun game, and it's easy to get into in a great community. So if anyone's out, come down to Centennial and say hi.
All right. C-Mace joining us here on 102.5 The Game, and we will come back with a lot more. We will continue to hash this out. Well, let's see Mace go, and let me tell you about Lone Pronto in the meantime. Lone Pronto, of course, at this time of the year, they know with the economy the way that it is, there's some opportunities out there with your home's equity. You might be sitting on a pile of money right now, and you can use it to pay off the high-interest credit cards, other things that might be out there, a car loan, something like that. And so really that's the move that a lot of people are making right now. Whether you do a whole loan refinance or take advantage of their all-new equity line of credit program, either option is going to let you unlock your equity and get a big check. Get the cash out, pay off the credit cards, do that home improvement project, get your down payment for a new home, or stash away for a safety net. All of this can be done by calling up Loan Pronto right now. It makes unlocking your equity very, very easy. Even with a home equity line, you can access up to 97% of your home's value. So don't let all that home equity pile up. Turn your house into an ATM machine and use that money where you need it. Get yourself some credit card debt-free feelings. Call Loan Pronto now at 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Join 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and Newton Motor Group this summer to help kids in Middle Tennessee. We're teaming up with Souls for Souls to provide shoes to children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area for back to school. Our goal is to raise $20,000, which will provide 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids. To help, go to thegamenashville.com/shoes. Let's do some good this summer. Newton Motor Group is a proud sponsor of Souls for Music City. Newton Motor Group, the best car deals in Nashville. Start at Newton. Visit thegamenashville.com/shoes.
Celebrate July 4th with huge deals from Electronic Express. Save big on summer necessities from brands like Charbroil, Yeti, Samsung, GE, Sony, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. Computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture, and more. Save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and get free express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
If you suffer from joint pain, from arthritis, or an injury, you know the traditional treatments: pain meds, steroids, and then surgery, right? Willie Daunic here with great news. Now there's a better way, and it's here now from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. This is an advanced, exciting, and natural alternative that can give you lasting relief using your body's own healing power. Listen, steroid shots are toxic to your joints. Pain meds can be addictive, and nobody wants to go under the knife. It's 2022, and those old ways are out. The new way is in. Regenerative medicine, restoring and repairing damaged joint tissue using natural biologics. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. QC Kinetics and their protocols can address any pain in any joint and give you the quality of life you deserve. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics now. 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
102.5 The Game is teaming up with Newton Motor Group and Souls for Souls to provide shoes for children experiencing homelessness in Nashville and the surrounding area. With school coming back, our goal is to raise $20,000, which will provide 1,000 pairs of shoes for kids. Please help however you can by going to thegamenashville.com/shoes. All donations go directly to Souls for Souls to give shoes to children in Middle Tennessee. thegamenashville.com/shoes.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching a game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You're listening to the DDC.
Presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling.
On ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
DDC, and yes, it is presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, a York certified comfort expert company. Schedule now at springhillac.com. Chase McCabe, Derek Mason, Willie Daunic, Elijah Campbell with you. Appreciate Chris Mason for jumping on. Good to catch up with C. Mace about some things going on with the Predators as we continue on Forsberg watch, and if that deal will in fact get done before July 13th and free agency opens. But I'm curious of this, because we've talked about the other moves that need to be made. The draft is July 7th is when it starts. That's the first round. Mm-hmm. And we'll actually have a special draft show here on 102.5, 106.3
Mace and I will both be
The
a
Game.
part of, by the way.
Yes, you and Mace will be a part of that. Robbie Stanley will be a part of that. Could have some others as well. So putting all that together. But David Poile has been known to make some moves or start making some moves at the draft, and I feel like no matter what happens with Forsberg, that is going to be the case. I think Dylan David is – and, Willie, I don't know if you were on when I've said this, but I've said this a few times with Darren now. I think David's going to make a big move. I think a splashy move is coming for the Nashville Predators this offseason, and I think it could very well start at the draft.
Wouldn't surprise me. You heard Mace lay it out. Really, when you get down to it, if you want to circle two things, and these are not the easiest things to get, so you're going to have to show some creativity, and you might have to give up some assets to do it. It may not just be signing 2 free agents. But I think you're looking to upgrade your top 4 defense, and you're looking to add a top 6 forward. And I think, is it realistic? Well, I think it's realistic because, again, this is all with plan A as Forsberg on your top line. You had a legitimate top line. Now, I think it's fair to say, can you get that same domination by the top line that you got this past year? Hopefully, but I don't know if it could be as good. But that top line last year, whether you put Ryan Johansson or Mikael Granlund on the first line, Duchesne, Forsberg, and that center, that was a legit NHL first line. And that's saying something because you look through the history of the Predators, they haven't always had a first line that you could truly say was elite. But that was a really good first line. So you're trying to fix the second line, which is a little easier to do than find the first line. So you're really looking for a second line boost that you can find in different ways. That's one. And then, again, maybe not throwing all of your resources at it, but setting aside a reasonable budget somewhere to address your top 4 defense with one more guy. Then I think you got a pretty good looking defense core top to bottom if you can do that. So it's 2 spots. So I would definitely think David Poile is looking at a lot of different options for that, and it may well be wheeling and dealing, looking around during the draft to make a swap.
From the defensive side of things is, and I'm double checking to make sure I have this right, and I do. John Klingberg to me could be an option. You like that?
I think to get a John Klingberg, you're probably going to have to pay. Now, he's an unrestricted free agent. You don't have to trade for John Klingberg. Yep. But I think he is going to be a very sought-after defenseman that's going to cost you, and he's going to be looking for one of those long-term deals. That's what he was not able to get from Dallas. So he might be, in my mind, a little rich for the Predators' blood. And he's also a skilled defenseman. And I think the Predators might be looking a little bit more for that. I'm just throwing this out there. The perfect guy to me would be somebody who could be a little bigger, stronger, the stay-at-home guy that might be great to play with Roman Josi. And you would then have Dante Fabro to maybe either play with Ekholm or play on the third pair with a Jeremy Lauzon. And Dante Fabro, who I don't think is done developing, can continue to grow and become an even better player. I don't know that he's the ideal partner for Roman Josi. I think you look at the second pair with Matthias Ekholm and Alex Carrier. I think you got a pretty darn good pair there. And I'm not saying you have to do it that way. You could move Carrier up to play with Josi and put the right partner for Ekholm in there as well. So what I'm saying, Chase, is I think Klingberg is going to be a high-cost defenseman there, and I don't know if they're going to budget that. Could they still do that, sign Forsberg, and add a top 6? That would be pretty expensive to do all of that.
So coming up next, I want you to give me a couple names that you think are realistic, whether it's free agency or trade, with what you're talking about, because you've laid out the needs. We know the needs that they have for the Predators, because a texter threw out some names and using the offer sheet, which I don't think David Poile is going to do, but I'll throw those out. Coming up next as you listen to the DDC on 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Want the latest on the Predators from the people that cover them?
Heck of a year so far for the Predators. They've been so much fun to watch.
Join Robbie Stanley for Preds Insiders every Monday at 6.
I feel probably as good about this group of 6 on D.
Presented by Dr. Kelly Rice on Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This segment of ESPN 102.5 The Game is brought to you by Train Heating and Cooling Systems. Tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. Traininfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
Hey, Willie Daunic here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Golfers, it's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the Callaway Trade-In Trade-Up event happening now through July 4th. Bring in any of your old clubs and receive a 50% trade-in bonus towards new Rogue ST Woods and Irons and Apex Irons. Both the Rogue and Apex families are designed with artificial intelligence for faster ball speeds. Swing by Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get your 50% bonus trade-in on Callaway Rogue ST and Apex Irons today. And while you're there, get custom fit for free. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home with a 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
The Authentically American 4th of July collection is live and ready to ship. Go to authenticallyamerican.us right now to order yours. Plus, 20% of all purchases from the 4th of July collection will be donated to Homes for Our Troops, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to build and donate specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans to enable them and to rebuild their lives. Have a happy and safe 4th of July from Authentically American. Made for you, made in America. Authentically American.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Now, local businesses can get closer to every customer in their city with fast, affordable shipping. Introducing USPS Connect Local. You want speed? We deliver same or next day. You want savings? We give you supplies at a flat rate. You want less legwork? We do free pickups. Move your local business forward with the United States Postal Service. Let's connect at USPSconnect.com/local. Specific markets, restrictions apply. Same day or next day delivery expected, but not guaranteed with entry close to final destination.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into the DDC.
Stone Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators.
He scores!
Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Matthias Ekholm. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
102.5, 106.3 The Game, the DDC. Chase McCabe, Derek Mason, Willie Daunic hanging out with you, Elijah Campbell on the ones and twos, as well as we're talking Predators and the free agent plan outside of just Philip Forsberg. And Willie, we got this text earlier from an unnamed texter. Poyle should offer sheet Robertson and Hintz from Dallas. That forces the Stars to choose who sign, and either of them will be a good fit for the Preds. Now, Hintz still has a year before he's a restricted free agent, so he couldn't do that. He'd have to get him via trade this offseason, which I don't see Dallas trading Roope Hintz as much as I love Roope Hintz and would love for him to be a Predator. But I also don't see him going the offer sheet route because he's been burned by that before. We obviously know having to match to keep Shea Weber, who he ultimately ended up having to trade. But what do you think? Do you think that the offer sheet, whether it's Robertson or somebody else, could be an option?
I don't think it'll be Robertson. Because the Stars they would match anything you would put out there for Robertson. I think a lot of people have wondered, and first of all, I agree with you that I don't think David Poyle likes the offer sheet thing to begin with. He just doesn't like being on either side of it. What a lot of people have wondered is, with the salary cap as tight as it is right now, it's only going up $1 million. There's a lot of teams that are up against it. If you are and the Stars are one of those teams, by the way. If you are calculated about making an offer to a restricted free agent and having them sign an offer sheet, there might be some teams that are just not in a position to match it. What happened last year was interesting in that Carolina signed away a player from Montreal simply because Montreal didn't have the cap space to match the offer. They made the offer, so they overpaid for Jesperi Kotkaniemi, right? He's a young player who had sort of underachieved, that they saw a lot of potential in. They overpaid to get him for 1 year and then signed him long-term, and Montreal did not match the offer. So I do think it's becoming a little bit more of a tool that you can use. I think what maybe is more realistic is, let's just take and throw out a name for an example. In Winnipeg, Pierre-Luc Dubois has basically told them, according to Elliot Friedman, I'm not coming back. I'm a restricted free agent. You've got me until I'm a free agent, and then I'm gone. So maybe there's a time. Maybe there are teams that call the Jets and say, okay, he's gone in a couple years. Maybe he wants to play for us. What do you want for him now? And you trade rather than do the offer sheet thing. Does that make sense?
Sure. Sure.
I think there's going to be a lot of that going on. There's a lot of restricted free agents. We talked about Kevin Fiala. He's one of them. Matthew Tkachuk is a restricted free agent. I don't know what's going to happen with Johnny Gaudreau, but I do think Matthew Tkachuk would be a really attractive guy.
Can I tell you like a dream scenario? And again, I don't know how you make all this work. I'm just telling you this is the dream scenario. You keep Forsberg, you work some sort of trade to get Matthew Tkachuk, and then you sign Nazem Kadri as a free agent, and you add skill and a lot of you-know-what and vinegar to your group.
Now, I think if you do the math on the three salaries there, I don't know if the Predators – I know they have a lot of cap space. I'm not sure they have quite that much to get all three. But could you get two of those three? That sure. I think, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to in the deal for Tkachuk, you're probably moving somebody.
And D-Mates, here's the thing about the restricted free agents. They tend to be younger. So the trade-off is you're getting them at the prime of their career. For example, here are some of the restricted free agents of note. Brock Besser, 25 years old. Kevin Fiala, 25. Tkachuk, 24. Pierre-Luc Dubois, I think, is 23 or 24. Now, the downside is you got to give up significant assets to get one of those guys. But if you're going to pay, you pay for the prime years of their career. So I think that's interesting. Whereas Kadri, how old is Kadri? Chase, 29? The unrestricted guys tend to be 28, 29, more like Philip Forsberg's age range.
Nazem Kadri, let's see. Burakovsky's 27. He's somebody I'd be – Kadri's 31.
Oh, Kadri's 31. Okay, so he's even older. You just mentioned Burakovsky.
I would take him too.
He's going to be really intriguing. Val Nichushkin had a great playoff, a great season overall. He's going to be really intriguing. So the Avalanche are going to lose a couple of these guys. They might be able to keep one of those three, but they're going to lose some of them, and a lot of people think that Kadri would be one of them.
My thing on Kadri, sorry, D-Man. My thing on Kadri is, like, he pisses a lot of people off, and there's a lot of people that don't like him, but he's kind of like that Ryan Kessler that we hated Ryan Kessler here in Nashville, but if you have a player like that gets under the skin of a team, like you would love to have that on your team. And
you love him on your team. You hate him when
is
he's
one
not.
of those guys.
But what would you pay for a 31-year-old?
It all depends on what you need. I mean, what purpose does he serve?
How many years? Like because he just came off a career year. He just won a cup. So
he
he's
had 87 points, 28 goals. He was making 4.5.
What, 4 years?
Yeah, I wouldn't go beyond 4 years. That is tough.
6 for 4? I mean,
that's
24 over 4.
Yeah, I mean, Mace is right around. If I could get him for 4 years at 5.5 per, I would do it. But he's probably going to command 6. But I wouldn't go over 4 years.
Nah.
Would you?
What do you guys
Willie?
think of? See, he's a center. One of the questions I'd have to ask is, how do I feel about Mikael Granlund the next 3 years? He seems to be the right guy. He's a productive center. So how do you move the pieces around if you bring in a Kadri? You're going to want to play him in the top 6. Do you move Granlund over to wing? You can.
Yeah.
That you could do that with those two players mesh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of people have thrown out a guy like Nino Niederreiter, who is another very edgy player. He has played a lot with Granlund back in their days as younger players with Minnesota. That would seem to be an intriguing guy that's out there. And you could keep Granlund at center in doing that. So there's a lot of ideas out there. But I think the most intriguing one would be, do you really make a big play for one of these guys that's a little bit younger? Because look at it this way. Granlund, a lot of people have noted this. Granlund, Yossi, Johansson, Ekholm, all in their low 30s now. So are you going to add another guy like Kadri, who's already in that category? Would you like to balance it with another guy that's more in those mid-20s to keep the age range staggered a bit more? To me, ideally, that's what I'd like to have, but it's going to cost you.
I think there are two ways to look at it, because I don't think you're wrong with that. But if I'm looking at it from, and I mean what I'm about to say as respectfully as I possibly can. If I look at it from the eyes of a 71-year-old general manager that has never won the Stanley Cup, I'm kind of going for it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do what it takes to make the team better, which I know is his goal. Like he said as much. He wants to give John Hines the pieces to succeed. Now, if I'm looking at it from how he has looked at it, of you do have to look at the league, and the league is getting faster and the league is getting younger. You have to obviously play that card too. I agree with what you're saying. Adding a 31-year-old center that's going to cost you probably $6 million a year is not the way to go about doing that. It's, can you work a trade where you get a younger player?
It might be fine for a year, but you have to look 3-4 years down the road, even if you're 71 and you're David Poile. And I give him credit. He's always been responsible with that. He has never been. There's plenty of GMs and plenty of sports that are like, you know what, I'm going for it now. And if I get fired or if I retire, it's the next guy's problem. I'm not worried about it. But I just think if you have too many guys that are all aging at 31, 32, 33 together, you look up in another year or two and you got an old team. And I think he's done a great job the last 2 years of realizing that and turning over the roster to younger players, right? That's where the Ellis trade, the Arvidsson trade, the Bonino trade, allowing Craig Smith to go to free agency, allowing trading Austin Watson. He avoided the team getting too old, and he's turned them into one of the younger teams in the league.
Well, he shouldn't have a problem going to get a guy that's 31 and signing him to a 4-year deal, because essentially you have a young roster. And I understand, hey, listen, I don't want to, have my roster consist of a bunch of older individuals. I understand that part, but you've done that work so your roster isn't a older roster. If you look at it now, so adding a older guy now, it's not like you're adding an older guy to an old roster.
Right.
True.
Right.
Very true.
Right.
So to me, you gotta go for it. If he's like a missing piece if you sign Philip Forsberg, and he's that other missing piece, and he's 31, so be it.
Yeah. The thing is, I do believe if you look at this as just straight up free agency, unrestricted free agency, I mean, there's obviously some good players out there, but it's the RFAs and the trades that you can make that I think make this offseason intriguing. And Willie, you said it best that there are going to be some teams that aren't going to have a choice because of the cap jail that they're going to be in, and so that's where I believe David Poile is going to be active and be able to add some players. I mean, Andre Palat's out there as an unrestricted free agent that would be good. Is Tampa able to keep him? There are some options for the Predators outside of Philip Forsberg, and you hope that they are in addition to Philip Forsberg. Coming up next, we'll put a bow on today's show, wrap this conversation up, talking about the Preds as you listen to the DDC here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Mostly sunny and hazy this afternoon with an air quality alert out for ground level ozone. High temperature 94, heat index upper 90s.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
The clock is ticking on Genesis Diamond's amazing finance offer. You have until 5 p.m. Saturday to take advantage of the hottest offer of the summer. 5 years, zero interest financing on practically everything in our showcases. Get in now and splurge. Maybe treat yourself. How about a stunning $12,000 designer ring, complete with a GIA diamond for just $200 a month? It's the smartest, easiest, and best way to buy. Nothing down and no interest for 5 years. But hurry, this incredible offer ends Saturday and will not be extended. Only at Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit.
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Curation CBD is a local family-owned business started and grown right here in Middle Tennessee. Curation's mission is to provide the community with locally and organically sourced CBD products for everyday use. Curation means healing, and their CBD products will do just that. Are you experiencing aches and pains as you age? Curation CBD products can help reduce pain and inflammation. Having trouble sleeping? Curation can help. Are you a pet owner looking for anxiety relief for your best friend? Curation has pet products too. Visit them online and order now on their website at curationcompany.com. Curation, CBD products curated for life.
Jared Stillman.
Football season, and then football season becomes hockey season, and then it becomes draft season, and then it becomes hockey playoff season.
And company.
Maybe this is something to just get people a little bit interested.
It's a matter of not having too many chefs in the kitchen.
Catch Stillman and Company on your drive home. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And I can spot it from a mile away.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope.
Here's a not-so-fun fact. A new law just raised the minimum amount that stores can charge for a case of wine or spirits.
What?
But don't worry, you'll still have time to stock up at Total Wine & More with our unbeatable case discounts.
Ooh.
Through the end of this year, you'll get the best discount on cases of your favorite wine and spirits.
Wow, with those low prices, I'm going to need another cart.
We don't know why the 16th state wants you to pay 16% more, but we'll always have the lowest prices in Tennessee. Drink responsibly, B21.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year,
Joe Rexrode.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to the DDC.
presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling
On ESPN 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
AAA affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates at First Horizon Park. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Welcome back into the DDC. Chase McCabe, Willie Daunic, Derek Mason, Elijah Campbell with you. And I'm very sad because tomorrow is Elijah's last day with us at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. I have sent out a memo that we are not to celebrate that at all. In fact, we're just going to kick him out at 2 o'clock. So, that's what we're going to do.
I saw some champagne bottles in the break room. I was wondering what those were for.
They're not for you. Just kidding. We are going to miss you, though, but glad we get one more day with you. So we were going through some, different scenarios and free agents, and I think we're going to talk about this a lot over the next 2 weeks. But how clear is the picture going to look after, especially the first round of the draft? I mean, we've also seen David Poile be busy on day 2 of the draft. That's when he was able to trade PK Subban, when it got to the point where it was time to start retooling and, moving some pieces around to, after they lost to Dallas, and that happened on day 2. That's when, that move happened. But like I said, I see him being active at the draft, but how active is he going to be with the actual draft? Is he going to be moving some of these picks, or do you think that David Poile's thought process is, I want to help now, but I also got to keep refilling the cupboard for the future?
Corey Pronman, who is with The Athletic, wrote a piece during the season assessing each team's farm system right now. And he had the Predators I was very encouraged by this. He had them up to, I think, around number 12 in the rankings. I don't know that you're sitting there looking at the farm system right now saying you got 2 or 3 guys who are on the roster right now, they're going to be stars. The intriguing one to most people is Luke Evangelista, who had the huge year in juniors. He's the one whose stock changed a lot. Now, does that mean that in a couple years he's a guy that's going to become, what they need, a top 6 guy, goal scorer, electrifying guy? I don't know, but you might have something there. How much? What do you feel honestly is the real assessment of guys like Cody Glass and Phil Tomasino, who are among the top prospects on that list right now for Pronman? That's an important thing. But to answer your question, Chase, if you're looking hard at trying to make a move via trade, that first round pick is something you have to maybe wrestle with trading, right? If maybe you trade next year's first round pick instead, but if you're going to go in there to draft day and you want to wheel and deal, you might have to shop that first round pick.
You shop it, move yourself down to the bottom of the first round and get a second round pick?
Potentially. I mean, it's a little – I think if you're moving that pick, you're trying to get a player. Okay. I mean, that's what I think you're trying to do. It's different, than the NFL. That I think if he's trading that pick, a player is coming back.
Yeah.
And it's a player that's going to help him now. I don't think he's trading that for a prospect or anything like that. It's somebody to help him now. And I'll
give you one that happened a couple years ago that's still paying dividends. The Blues made a deal and got Braden Shen from the Flyers on draft day, and that turned them 2 years later into a champion. Braden Shen was a great trade for the Blues. I'm just illustrating times that you trade a pick, but you get the immediate help from a team that is trying to build for down the road.
Yeah, and so I think that's probably what he could end up doing if it's the right deal. And I mean, some of these names that we've thrown out there that would have to be acquired via trade, it's going to take a first round pick, and it's probably going to take a good player off the roster. I mean, you referenced it earlier, James Neal, that trade, and Patrick Hornquist. That one stung a little bit because Patrick Hornquist was a good young player. He'd become a fan favorite, but he fit the Barry Trotz system. I don't know if he necessarily didn't fit, but it was James Neal was more of a Peter Laviolette system type player. That's why David Poile made that move. And I think you could potentially see that there could be a player that get sent away, and it's not because, oh, we have to get rid of this player. It's because you got to give something to get something, and that's the tough part.
Yeah, I'll throw a possibility. I don't know. Again, this is no inside info, but Luke Cunningham is an interesting one to me. He's a reasonable priced young player who might have another level to him. And you have his rights as a Predator right now. But if you're looking for a top 6 splash, Luke Cunningham played in your top 6 for most of the year. You have a really unique, dynamic third line that you kind of like together in Trennan, Sissons, and Jeannot. So Luke Cunningham doesn't really fit there. So could you shop Cunningham around, to free up some cap space? I'm not saying you would trade him for a top 6 guy, but you might move him one place, get a couple assets, use those assets, and free up the cap space to go make the splash that you're looking for. I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. There's Tolvanen as well as another guy that you might throw out there, although I still feel like there's optimism from the group that Tolvanen is not going to be a guy that you give up on yet, but we'll see.
So I will say this, and you may say that this is a hot take. You may say that I'm spot on. I don't see Eeli Tolvanen and Luke Cunningham both being on this roster next year. I think one is gone.
I think that's a reasonable, plausible thing.
I think one of them is gone
right now. Just from when you start filling in the spots on the roster, it's hard to see them both there. If you want to add what I think everybody thinks they would like to add, that's a true top 6 guy.
Yeah, and my thing with Cunningham is, for whatever, I think he's a good player, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't fit. He just hasn't really worked the way that they hoped that he would. And I don't know if they thought he was more versatile than he actually is, or it's just a system thing. I mean, you guys know this. Sometimes there's just a player that he works someplace and he doesn't work another.
I think he brings a lot to the table. I think he's a very good player that had nothing go right for him this year. I easily think he could bounce back and be a very good player in the right spot. But this team needs an established top 6 guy. And I don't know that you can count on him there. But I think if he goes to another place, I think he could be a good, solid third-line player that can score you 18 to 20 goals. I think he could absolutely do that, and for a pretty reasonable price. So I think that could be attractive to somebody.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one more player, because I've had a friend ask me about this guy several times.
So you're asking for a friend.
I'm asking for a friend.
Okay.
And you have brought him up before. I think Kevin Fiala has developed into a much better player than he was when he left here, because he was young. He was very young when he left. Do you think that there is a chance that they could be reunited and it feels so good, or do you think that ship has sailed?
I haven't asked anybody about how they feel about that. I think Kevin Fiala is still the same person, very mercurial. I think he's more mature. And I think, man, the highs are high. He's unbelievable. Let me put it this way. I think if you put an offer sheet out there for Kevin Fiala, whether you're the Predators or anybody else, I don't think the Wild can match it. And they have had all kinds of opportunities to re-sign Kevin Fiala, and they haven't done it. So they're not enamored with him. They've signed all these other guys. They haven't signed Kevin Fiala. So I think he will be on another team next year. No question about it. So I don't know how the Predators feel about the second go-around with him. They've done it with other players. But that's an intriguing one to me.
We'll see. See how it all shakes out. Hey, good show today. Good to be in here with you guys. D-Mace will be back at it with us tomorrow, as will Willie. And so will I. And we'll celebrate Elijah, maybe. Or I'll just cry because I don't know what I'm going to do. The suit isn't going to know what he's going to do for a while, but that's okay. Deshaun Watson, all of that situation is still ongoing. What is going to happen with that? Caroline and Adam Vingan will be discussing that on Stillman & Company. Coming up next, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.